Expert, Vice President Kamala Harris, reviewing her potential running mates. Let us know what you think. It's 29 minutes to 7. Time for news headlines.
Good morning. In the headlines, the Gauteng Education MEC Matome Chilwane is this morning expected to give details of a report and an investigation into the deaths of 2 learners from Davidton Skills School. Police authorities in the Eastern Cape have described officers gunning down of 5 suspects in Kiskamahoek as a major breakthrough in the fight against cash-in-transit heists in the province. And the Venezuelan government has ordered diplomats from 7 Latin American countries to leave. It complains that their refusal to recognize Nicolas Maduro's official victory in Sunday's election is tantamount to an attack on Venezuela's sovereignty. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. If you're coming out of Pretoria down towards the airport for flight connections this morning, you'd be well aware of the roadworks that are in place at Clayville. That's the R21 approaching Olifantsfontein. Sanrail saying there's some more roadworks with a double-lane closure between Bupsfontein Road and the Benoni R23 exit. So that's likely to be 2 queues that you'll face as traffic builds through the morning. The Bike 1 Boyson's up to Empire Road. That's already quite heavily backed up. Protesting at Port Shepstone through to Murchison. The N2 on the southern parts of KZN likely to be a bit disruptive. Conflicting reports. Some truckers and motorists saying they're getting through, others saying there's still some burning tyres and obstruction. So just a heads up, disruption in that Port Shepstone area, just west of Port Shepstone. Staying in KZN, if you're driving north of Mpangeni today, expect some delays. There'll be stop-go controls at the Nsaleni Bridge from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. So likely the off-peak part of the day. Northbound today and then southbound tomorrow and southbound again on Thursday. Cape Town getting fairly busy. The M2 between Khayelitsha and Mowbray Main Road on your way through to Hospital Bend is busy. Also some quite heavy traffic coming out of Kales River and Blackheath this morning. Stellenbosch Arterial Road looks all backed up through towards the R300 bridge area. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
This is SAfm Sport with Zai Khan.
Morning, Zai. Gold medal in the bag. Gold medal number 1, should we say?
Absolutely, John. I feel like we've hit the breakfast jackpot thanks to Tatiana. What a way to wake up to the morning to that kind of news. 100-meter breaststroke final finishing in 1 minute 5.28 seconds. Tatiana Smith's incredible performance saw her actually come from behind to beat China's Tang Qianting and secure that top spot. Now, Peter Coetzee, he also impressed in the pool, setting a new African record in the men's 100-meter backstroke, and he finished 5th though, but it was a time of 52.58 seconds, African record, brand new one. Mountain biking, Alan Hatherley made history, winning bronze in the men's cross-country race, becoming the first South African cyclist to medal at the Olympics since 1956. Hatherley finished just 11 seconds behind the gold medalist. Here's Hatherley.
It's been a goal, a career goal of mine, since I was a child growing up, and to have achieved it today is just unbelievable, and it's been such a journey to get to this point. The last few weeks is always the most difficult, when you've had perfect preparation to just put the cherry on top to deliver a performance, when you obviously have, only one chance to deliver that performance.
Unfortunately, our women's hockey team, they faced a tough 4-2 defeat against Argentina, who came back and scored 3 late goals in the 4th quarter, sealing a come-from-behind win. Skateboarder Brandon Valjalo finishing 12th, and that's in the men's street preliminary rounds. And in the African continent, Zambia striker Rachel Kundananji says they really need to work on their defensive skills after losing 6-5 to Australia in the Olympic women's football group stages. The Copper Queens were leading 4-2 at halftime, and Kundananji believes that's when they lost concentration.
I feel like we went well in the game, starting from the first half, what we were taught to do when pressing and, when we have a chance on attack, which we did. And I feel like we just lost concentration. That's why we conceded a lot of goals, whereby the game we were winning, we just gave it out.
Now, tennis action. Novak Djokovic outclassed his longtime rival Rafa Nadal to win their Olympic second-round match and continue his bid to land an elusive gold medal. Serbia's Djokovic looked on a different level to Nadal for most of a one-sided contest when he won 6-1, 6-4 on the Roland Garros clay. And more swimming, Adam Peaty has tested positive for COVID-19 a day after winning silver for Team Great Britain in the 100-meter breaststroke. Peaty missed out on the third consecutive gold medal by 0.02 seconds, and that was on Sunday, and said he was feeling slightly unwell. A Team Great Britain statement says the 29-year-old's condition worsened overnight, and he has now tested positive for the coronavirus. Now, unlike the last games in Tokyo, there are no strict protocols around the disease in Paris, which could prevent him from competing. And finally, Canada's women's football team, they've launched an appeal against having 6 points deducted in their Olympic group after a drone was used to spy on a rival team's training session. But they haven't appealed against coach Bev Priestman's one-year ban. A statement says Canada seek a decision, either cancelling or reducing the points. And Canada Soccer said the appeal was based on the disproportionality of the sanction. More sport, that's at the top of the hour on SAfm Breakfast. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAfm.
Get an update with Ntaoleng Lechela. Ntaoleng, good morning to you. Pan-African Resources have done some good things this year. What's happening?
Morning, John. So from a gold medalist to a gold miner. Good news from that front. The gold tailings miner delivered a 6.2% jump in gold production. This was achieved due to the improved performance from its Barberton mines in Mpumalanga. Despite meeting its output target and the upbeat performance, Pan-African Resources says things could have been better, but as it's been dealing with a delay in commissioning a ventilation shaft at Evander Gold Mines, which impacted its production in the last 2 months of its financial year. Now, the delay had an additional negative effect on the company's unit costs. Pan-African had initially estimated unit costs to be between $1,325 and $1,350 per ounce. The actual costs were higher due to the delay. This, however, will be a short-term issue, and Pan-African Resources expects the shaft to be functional by its next financial year.
And I see Premier. I don't know who Premier are. What do they do? But I know their name is Premier, so they must be good.
So Premier is a consumer packaged goods company.
Okay.
It owns a whole lot of bakeries, basically consumer packaged goods that are then delivered to your big supermarkets like a ShopRite, a Pick n Pay, etc. So they've set aside 1.4 billion rand for investment over the next 2 years to improve efficiency at its factories. This investment is said to be important to the company's growth strategy and will help create new opportunities for its expansion. In its last financial year, the company invested 635 million rands. The investment included rebuilding the Mthatha bakery and temporarily closing and rebuilding the Aeroton bakery. Additionally, Premier also commissioned an upgrade wheat mill in Eswatini and implemented different projects to restructure the manufacturing footprint of 2 sugar confectionery factories in Ekurhuleni. Now, Premier also brought production capacity back to South Africa at its Lilith factory in eThekwini. Now, it's been able to do all of this because of an upbeat financial performance. During its annual period, Premier managed to grow its cash generated from operations to 2.4 billion rand, allowing it to settle its debt faster and invest the rest of the monies into its growth plans.
Good news. And what's happening on the markets this morning?
Well, we've had a slow start to the week with U.S. markets eking out gains. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ just making it into green territory, while the Dow Jones fell slightly. This, of course, ahead of earnings from tech giants Apple, Amazon, Meta, and Microsoft. Over in Asia, the mood quite sour, with most stocks trading in the red. We are seeing some caution from traders as we await central banks' moves from the US, UK, and Japan. Back at home, it's also red screens with all indices in negative territory. The all share ended the day 0.13% lower, being dragged by the financial 15, losing 0.41%. Now, taking a look at your currencies, the downbeat global sentiment weighing on the rand as well. It's currently trading at 18.44 to the dollar, above the 18.28 level we saw it at yesterday.
Ntaoleng, thank you very much. More business coming with Ntaoleng Lechela in an hour's time.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, noma uphumaphi, and no matter your favorite dish. See if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3, Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
What do you want from an insurer? Affordable premiums and awesome service when you claim, right? Here's what real clients say about OUTsurance.
My name is Mpo. I'm 42 years old from Cape Town. I pay $495 per month for my Ford Figo 2014 with OUTsurance Essential Cover.
SMS out to 30754 and see if you can save. But you also want to know your claim is going to be settled without any issues. Every year, the Ombudsman for Short-Term Insurance releases a report showing how the country's insurers did. And when it came to claims, of all the major insurers, OUTsurance has had the fewest complaints referred by clients to the Ombudsman for the past decade. Now that's awesome claim service.
I'm not surprised OUTsurance had such few complaints because in my experience with OUTsurance, everything has been amazing.
Real savings, really happy clients. Go to outsurance.co.za right now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
South Africa's Golden Girl just knew how to silence all her critics with gold. Caster Semenya won gold in the women's 800 meter and made all South Africans proud, setting a new national record.
Semenya looks over her shoulder and she's away. The winning time is going to be terrific. She comes through 1:55.46. Well, that smashes the world list.
Rio was electrical. The 25-year-old brought Team SA the second gold medal and became the first black South African woman to do so. The weeks after, the Games continued to reveal more criticism, including Britain's Lindsay Sharp, who felt Caster had an unfair advantage. South African excellence got the world talking. She undoubtedly left a remarkable footprint. Magical moments of the Olympics. Brought to you by SABC Sport, proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024.
For the love of the game.
You are listening to John Gerika on SAfm.
17 minutes to 7, you with SAfm. It's SAfm Breakfast. The Cape of Storms living up to its name this winter. Damage to power infrastructure in the Cape already at 16.6 million rand. 19,000 primarily storm-related faults have been reported. Find out what the Cape is doing with MMC for Energy. Alderman Xanthia Limburg joins us from the Cape now. Alderman Xanthia Limburg, good morning to you. Thanks very much for joining us. Are you coping with these reported faults? 19,000 of them.
Good morning, John, and good morning to the listeners. Well, 19,000 service requests are what our electricity departmental staff and contractors have actually attended to in a period of 10 days during very unprecedented and harsh weather conditions. And I think other than the volume of complaints, what makes damaged electricity infrastructure even more difficult to attend to in harsh conditions is the complexity of the work. Our staff can't use things such as our aerial platforms because of very strong winds, and where there has been excessive flooding, it makes the task of fault finding along cables incredibly difficult. And water ingress, obviously, also a factor. So we have to get in other equipment to do pumping of water. And all of this obviously adds to the delayed turnaround time and makes it very difficult to communicate as well with our residents around accurate times of being able to restore power.
The budget here is important. So 16.6 million rand. Is that budgeted for, or are we expecting increases in service delivery fees?
So this is budgeted for in advance as part of the city's readiness program in response to our winter periods, which are generally harsh. But this year we have seen unprecedented weather conditions. We obviously have to also, as part of that exercise, reprioritize funding elsewhere to make up for additional damaged infrastructure. It isn't going to impact tariffs in terms of cost to our residents, but unfortunately it is money that we will have to move around that was initially allocated elsewhere. And so a lot of that budget is going towards things such as replacing collapsed electricity poles and wires, and where there's been damaged infrastructure. Also, unfortunately, during vandalism, because we have seen opportunistic criminal elements take advantage of outages when the network is down. We've seen theft, and so we've also had to replace additional infrastructure during these stormy periods.
We have to leave it there. Alderman Xanthia Limburg, thank you very much. Mayoral Committee Member for Energy down in the Western Cape.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAfm.
Horrific story about the killing of a primary school teacher in Ntuzuma in Durban on Monday morning. The teacher was in a classroom preparing for learners. Two armed men entered the school. They were there under pretense. They opened fire and shot the teacher while she was at school. Let's get more reaction on this story with the General Secretary of the National Teachers Union, Dr. Ngema. Dr. Ngema, good morning to you. Horrific story. Your reaction?
Good morning, John, and good morning to the listeners of SAfm. Well, indeed, we were so much flabbergasted and heartbroken to hear the news of the incident that took place in one of the schools, primary schools in Durban, Pigiswa Primary, where a teacher, while waiting for her grade R learners to get into the classroom and start the work of teaching and learning, but she was rather, visited by gunmen who did not, ask anything, but, just shot at her severally, killing her in front of her grade R learners, that's the learners at about 5-6 years old. Very much shocking, John.
So wait, the learners were in the classroom when it happened?
Actually, they were outside because they were, waiting to get inside, and it was just during the prayers time. This happened, and the teacher, just tried to run away, and while they were gathered outside for the prayer, the gunmen just shot at her. About 5 shots that they fired at her, and she succumbed right then, and she passed on.
Do you know if there are any arrests yet, Dr. Ngema?
We cannot tell at this point in time, John, because the law enforcement agencies, the police were there yesterday, the crime scene, to investigate this matter, to find out. But we really we are disappointed, John, at the our level of security in our schools, this level of safety and security, because these people find their way into the school through, a gatekeeper at the gate, a person who is untrained and incompetent. You can tell, John, that, anyone who enters the school should be at least be registered in a visitor's book and also be, searched at some point. But these people find their way through, and the security guard, the gatekeeper just allowed them in. But really, we are so much worried and concerned about the issue of security in our schools. And it's a matter that we raised and tabled before the newly appointed minister sometime last week to say she really needs to do something to upgrade and ensure that safety and security is taken seriously in our schools. We need security guards that are trained, that has got metal detectors to ensure that no weapons get or make their way into the school. We also need to erect proper fencing in our schools, John, it can't be correct that we continue to lose our teachers in their line of duty inside the school. It can't be right.
Will you be now pushing the police, making sure that this job is fulfilled to try and arrest the suspects?
We have made that call, and we are happy at least that yesterday they were part of the crime scene, and the investigations are ongoing as we speak. We wish that they leave no stone unturned in probing this matter and identify the perpetrators and bring them to book. Teachers, John, are like a national asset for us, and they are very much important. If you think of it, you left your kids at home, and your relatives. You went to school to work, but due to criminal activities taking place in our communities, finding their way through the school, the teacher lost her life. Just like that. So we really need and call on police to investigate this matter and ensure that perpetrators are identified and brought to book.
And just quickly, are your members going to go to school today? Are they going to be helping the kids and giving support?
We have requested the Department of Education to provide psychosocial support as well as trauma counseling to our teachers, as well as learners who witnessed this incident, John. Like I said, really, you can imagine the psychological impact as well as the trauma that they may have suffered. Seeing their teacher being gunned down in full view of everyone in the school. So actually, we wish that the department can prioritize that and ensure that our teachers, are provided with psychosocial support.
Dr. Ngema, thank you very much. General Secretary of the National Teachers Union.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Stripping you away to Pretoria this morning. A crash on the N14 before Jean Avenue, so just watch for slowing traffic on that run through. The Bike 1's fairly heavy today from Gold Reef City all the way up to Empire Road, and the N3 already queuing heavily from Elan's interchange up through the roadworks at Van Buren on your way towards Galilee's. Very slow. Those roadworks have been there for absolutely ever. The left lane remains closed. The N3 north at Heidelberg Road, so coming in from Sprayview, there's quite a backlog to work through there. And two roadworks on the R21 from Pretoria down to the airport this morning. You've got the long-term works at Clayville, and then you've got some more works between Bobsfontein and the Benoni exit, causing a secondary delay through. Durban, locally looking fairly busy. Kwamashu Highway from Malindela down to the N2. Phoenix Highway now towards Trade Centre, and Hans Detman Highway going north through the Queensborough area on your way to Pinetown. Very slow up as far as Wiltshire Road. Truck overturning between Richards Bay and Mpangeni, causing some delays on the R34 John Ross Highway. That's near the Alumina Alley junction. And just outside Cape Town, if you go in or out of Cirrus every morning, you won't be able to use the R46 Michelle's Pass. That's currently closed. A big truck overturning overnight last night, and recovery teams are there. They've closed the road and busy trying to get that truck out of the way. Cape Town's highways, the N2 inbound from Robert Sobukwe, fairly heavy all the way through to Hospital Bend. The M5 is backlogging to Southfield Parkwood. Again, it was a busy one yesterday. Looks again to be busy this morning. And the M3 already standing from Constantia up to Paradise Road as you come in through the Bishop's Court area. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
Nothing beats the feeling of relaxing on your couch after a long, hard day, getting rid of those work clothes and feeling the freedom of being in your PJs. Throwing off that lace front, undoing your hair, that makeup, voila, gone. It's going to be a quiet, relaxed night. Well, not on S3. Bring a whole lot of vroom to your weeknights with Top Gear Season 16. Monday to Wednesday at 10 p.m. and Top Gear specials such as Top Gear from A to Z and Top Gear The Races. Friday nights from 9 to 11 p.m. Channel your inner vroom with BBC Primetime. Only on S3. Open up.
Your geyser would have hot water, but some people overloaded the transformer with their illegal connections. You're late again, and the robots don't work. Some people vandalized it for copper. The whole community doesn't have electricity because some people have been bridging meters for a small fee, and now the transformer has exploded due to overloading. Don't allow illegal connections by criminals to inconvenience you and your community. Report criminals to Eskom on 0800 11 2722 or the SAPS. Save your transformer. Save lives.
Greatness has a way of overcoming all the obstacles. South Africa is readmitted into the International Olympic Committee. The Afrika Dzonga flag was flown by marathoner Dan Dow at the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games Barcelona 1992. Ilana Meyer rose to the occasion with a silver medallion in the women's 10,000 meters. While tennis doubles pairing of Wayne Ferreira and Pete Norval grabbed another silver.
Second and silver medalist representing South Africa, Wayne Ferreira and Pete Norval.
Team Africa Chipembe. Magical moments of the Olympics. Brought to you by SABC Sport, proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024.
For the love of the game.
SAfm Breakfast, helping you navigate your day.
3 minutes to 7. Let's get an update on the new procurement law. It says it's going to eliminate corruption in procurement across the country. There's going to be a new procurement office that will promote standardization in procurement and modernize the system through technology and innovation. Sounds fantastic. Wayne Divinage is the CEO of the organization Undoing Tax Abuse, or OUTA. Wayne, good morning to you. Thanks very much. Is this the solution to all the problems? All procurement will now be legal and above board?
I doubt it's going to happen overnight. And while the intentions seem good and there are a lot of changes, it's not going to address corruption miraculously overnight. This is going to be a process. Regulations need to be compiled and put in place as it unfolds. But essentially, what they are trying to do is to put the spotlight on procurement, trying to centralize it, making it more transparent. And we've always said transparency is the enemy of corruption. So the more transparent you can make the process, but upfront, not afterwards. Don't tell us afterwards who won the tender, but do so upfront so we can prevent and be part of the solution of preventing the wrong people from getting these tenders. Then that is going to have a positive benefit, but it's going to take some time.
You can make all the laws in the land, but if they're not enforced or they're not looked after, what's the point?
Yeah, no, exactly. And, for instance, we've had the restricted suppliers database already for years in Treasury, but they don't use it. So we found a lot of companies and individuals wanting and involved in corruption and maladministration in the past, but it didn't remove them or put them on that list. So we want to see those processes being applied more stringently and diligently.
Wayne, the Western Cape Premier Alan Winde has come out saying that this is unconstitutional because it's centralized nationally and it's going to restrict provinces and municipalities from being able to procure goods and services.
Yeah, and there we go. Already we start to see some of the challenges that are going to happen. But I think what it does do is for instance, in the PPE, when there was bulk procurement required, you had all these different departments doing their own thing, whereas the government can now secure bulk purchase agreements from vehicle manufacturers, for instance, or PPE and so forth, and then say, well, that is the price. Now that applies to all the provinces around the country, and I guess that's the upside. The downside is that if a local authority or a provincial authority finds an even better solution, then are they going to be bound by the national one? And look, it's also going to start looking at promoting locally produced matters or products, but those could be more expensive. And then you have the whole argument of, well, what do we want? Do we want a locally produced or do we want better prices? Now, local production means local jobs, but it might not be right quality. And so there's going to be a lot of questioning of the bill and its impact over time.
We've got like 30 seconds. I think the important thing here is people who are excluded from submitting bids. This is now down in black and white. Public office bearers, public servants in any sphere of government, officials in parliament, provincial legislatures, special advisors, employees of public entities. It's black and white, so we shouldn't have these problems like we had with the PPE.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to eliminate it at all. I think they'll find loopholes and ways around that.
Right.
They've done so in the past, so it's not going to eliminate cronyism and nepotism. essentially it's going to be just allow them to find new loopholes.
Wayne Duvenage, thank you very much. CEO of Organisation Undoing Tax Abuse, or OUTA. What's your view on that? Do you think this new procurement law will eliminate corruption in procurement? Let us know what you think. As always, 086 000 2032. You can also send us a WhatsApp voice note on 0614 104 107. Coming up in a minute, there might be a water crisis in Gauteng, or are we just getting a little bit alarmist? And we'll get the ANC's view on the expulsion of Jacob Zuma. That's coming up after the news at 7.
In our top stories, Davidton school drowning report to be released and water supply disruptions in some parts of Potchefstroom. Good morning. Gauteng's Education MEC, Matome Chilwane, is this morning expected to give details of a report of an investigation into the deaths of 2 learners from Davidton Skills School. 15-year-old Sipamandla Peterson and 17-year-old Sibusiso Sibia drowned during a discipline camp at Rockfalls Adventure Ranch in Centurion in April last year. Steve Mabona is the department's spokesperson.
Gauteng Education MEC Matume Chilwane shared the investigative report which probed the deaths of 2 learners from Davidton Skills School who drowned during a discipline camp at Rockfalls Adventure Ranch in Centurion on Monday, the 15th of April 2024. The report is ready. It will be shared with all the stakeholders accordingly.
Police authorities in the Eastern Cape has described officers gunning down of 5 suspects in Kiskamahoek as a major breakthrough in the fight against cash-in-transit heists in the province. The suspects are believed to have been part of the cash-in-transit heist that took place on the N6 between East London and Komani yesterday. Police discovered explosives and firearms at the scene of the shooting. Nomteteleli Mene is the Provincial Police Commissioner.
As they approached the house, suspects came out and they started shooting at the police. And then a shootout ensued where 5 of the suspects were fatally wounded on the crime scene. Upon doing further investigation, we've noticed that there's explosives that might have been possibly used earlier on the scene, and also a number of rifles, a number of magazines, and a number of ammunition, and then an undisclosed amount of money that is inside this crime scene.
The 2 men accused of involvement in the murder of Keenan aka Forbes and his friend Tibilo Tibbs Mutswane will know their fate next month. Siblings Siyabonga and Malusi Ndimande appeared in the Manzini Magistrates Court in Eswatini yesterday. The matter was postponed to the 16th of next month for judgment. The court ruled that the main extradition application should proceed. This after the defence requested a postponement. Meanwhile, the defence raised concerns about the safety of the siblings, saying they fled South Africa due to taxi violence. The JB Marks local municipality says some parts of Potchefstroom in the northwest might experience water supply disruptions due to a breakdown at a pump station. The municipal spokesperson Jeanette Chitty says their teams are working around the clock to address the problem.
We did experience a mechanical breakdown at Ikageng Pump Station 7 that provides water to Old Ikageng or Ikageng proper. We released this information just to notify residents at areas that are affected by mechanical breakdown that they might experience water supply interruptions during the day. Repairs and maintenance are currently in progress to curb water supply shortages.
Further afield, and finally, the Venezuelan government has ordered diplomats from 7 Latin American countries to leave. It complains that their refusal to recognize Nicolas Maduro's official victory in Sunday's election is tantamount to an attack on Venezuela's sovereignty. Venezuela has also recalled its own ambassadors. Meanwhile, riot police have fired rubber bullets at protesters in the Venezuelan capital. This as thousands demonstrate against the official outcome of the presidential election. The BBC's Ione Wells reports.
There were clashes between police and the military on the streets and protesters. Now, this is something that will worry President Maduro because these are not opposition parties who are disputing this result. These were normal people, many of whom had walked all the way from poorer neighbourhoods in the suburbs of the city and slums surrounding the city, areas that would have previously voted for President Maduro's Socialist Party and for him himself as well, now turning against him and turning against him specifically after he claimed victory in this election result.
Recapping the top story, Gauteng's education MECs this morning expected to give details of a report of an investigation into the deaths of 2 learners from the Davidton Skills School. For SAfm News, I am Anne Musa.
SAfm. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
The N3 is heavy coming in from Phosphorus and Sprayview this morning. 2 queues to work through. One is the big pile-up between Leondale Road and Heidelberg Road. You come up into the Germiston area and then from Elands through towards Van Buren. It's all backed up through the roadworks. Now, we've been mentioning the protest action and blockage of the N2 just west of Port Shepstone. We're now hearing about taxi strike action blocking the N2 further out at Islingolwenny. So anybody with any plans today to travel Harding through to Port Shepstone probably should be factoring some alternative route action. Big delays into Durban on the N3. It's a breakdown at Paradise Valley. That's where the M13 joins. So the N3 coming through from Pinetown's heavy. M13 looks like it's under a bit more pressure than normal as well. Motorists are driving in and out of Cirrus in the Western Cape. The R46 Michelle Pass is closed for truck crash recovery. And if you're driving into Cape Town this morning, highways are busy. A good indicator of that. The M5, it is backed from Parkwood all the way through to Maitland. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
A very good morning to you. In your SAfm sports headline, Team South Africa have struck gold. Yes, our first gold medal in a thrilling women's 100-meter breaststroke. Thank you, Tatiana Smith. And Peter Coetzee impressing in the pool, setting a new African record. We'll bring you the details at around 7:30.
Getting ahead of the morning with #SAfm Breakfast.
It's 7:07. You're with SAfm. I'm John Gericke. This is SAfm Breakfast. Coming up in a moment, we're going to talk about the expulsion out of the ANC of Jacob Zuma. There's a water crisis, apparently. Department of Water and Sanitation's warned that water levels in the Vaal River might not be enough to meet the demand in Gauteng. We will find out what those percentages are in a moment. And then climate change. Urgent action is needed, says the Presidential Climate Commission. We have a warm winter, unless you're down in the Western Cape where you are having a severe winter. You heard about the millions of rand that's had to be spent because of the severe Cape of storms. Is that because of global warming? Are things just getting hot anyway? Depends on who you talk to. And we will talk to this the Presidential Climate Commission, and we'll find out exactly what the problems are in South Africa and what we can do to try and improve it. All of that and plenty more still ahead in the next half hour. Stay close.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, noma uphumaphi, and no matter your favorite dish. See if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3 Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
Some records do not like that they can be broken until they are broken. The world experienced the Mzansi vibes in Rio de Janeiro. Akani Simbine became the first South African to qualify for the men's 100-meter final since 1932. While the sprinter wasn't able to obtain a medal, his performance created another historic moment for South African athletics. He ran a phenomenal race and finished 5th in a battle with the likes of Jamaica's Johan Blake and Canada's Andre de Grasse. Simbine proved he could run with the greats like Usain Bolt and Justin Gatlin and made South Africa proud by qualifying for the men's 100-meter final for the first time since Danny Hubert in 1932. Magical moments of the Olympics. Brought to you by SABC Sport, proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024.
For the love of the game.
SAfm values your views. Be an active citizen.
10 minutes past 7 o'clock. Let's get the views of the ANC now on the expulsion of Jacob Zuma from that party. Acting ANC spokesperson is Zuko Goodlimpi. Zuko, good morning to you. Thanks very much for joining us. Your views immediately from the ANC on the expulsion of Jacob Zuma.
Good morning, John. Good morning to the listeners at home. Look, it was not an easy process, but it has now finally been brought to finality. The National Disciplinary Committee gave us their verdict the other day that they listened to the representation by the representative of Mr. Jacob Zuma, and they listened to the charges that were laid by the ANC, and they arrived at the conclusion that the member ought to be expelled from the ANC, and that's the decision on the matter.
You say it wasn't easy. It seems quite obvious, though, it should have happened.
Well, I mean, it's not easy to wake up one day and have to confront the reality that a former president of an organization has decided to establish a political party to undermine the very organization that they grew up in, the very organization that they rose to the highest levels of leadership. So it's not an easy thing for anybody.
Why did it take so long?
Well, I mean, look, disciplinary proceedings are procedural matters. You don't rush them. You have to give everyone due process, follow the rules of natural justice, afford them an opportunity to make their case as well, and listen, contrast all the arguments at play, and then arrive at a decision.
It's been a really long time. When was the MK party formed? February this year?
It was he made the announcement on December 16, and then it evolved until the ANC preferred charges against him in March this year. And of course, because the ANC was quite held up by the elections campaign, we decided to postpone the disciplinary hearing at the time so that we don't detract attention from the work that was before us. Then we agreed that this work would be done immediately after elections, and that is why it had to happen now in the month of July.
There is this appeal process that Jacob Zuma is allowed. What's going to happen now?
Well, that's up to the charged member if they so wish to pursue an appeal, but they have 21 days from the day of the verdict before they were for them to consider an appeal. If they were to lodge an appeal, the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeals would consider the application and then schedule a date for an appeal hearing.
Well, I'm trying to understand. What would they appeal? Saying maybe the process wasn't done correctly, which is why you've gone through this process, as you mentioned.
Look, yeah, exactly. I wouldn't know what they would want to say, but as far as the ANC is concerned, all procedural angles were covered. So we really don't believe that there's any basis for that. But again, our own constitution provides that last resort of an appeal. So if they so wish to exercise it, they are allowed to do so.
See, Zuko, I sit back and, I get all the messages, I see all the Twitters, and people going, well, this was such an obvious thing. How can you campaign and claim to be the president of another political party and still be a member of the ANC? It seems as if this is such a drawn-out thing that you've even given credence, and you've helped MK a little bit here.
Not quite. The ANC has gone through these processes before. There's no such a thing as automatic expulsion. And the courts of law have ruled on this matter that the ANC has to follow its own constitution to the letter. You are a member of the ANC until you decide not to renew your membership, or you pass away, or you are expelled. So the ANC, regardless of what the person has done, cannot wake up and say, oh, so-and-so is automatically expelled. It has got to take them through the due processes. Unfortunately, that is a requirement of the Constitution. That is a requirement of the rules of natural justice and what the court of law would insist upon.
All right. What does it mean to Jacob Zuma that he is no longer a member of the ANC?
Look, that would be for him to answer. But what it means for us is that you have a former president of the ANC who's now counted outside the realm of the ANC and is basically now asserting himself as an opponent of the ANC. That is as far as it goes, and that is as far as the ANC is willing to understand the matter.
Zuko Goodlimpi, thank you very much. Acting ANC spokesperson.
Thank you, John.
Keeping you informed and ready for the day ahead on #SAfm Breakfast.
Is there a water crisis in Gauteng? The Department of Water and Sanitation have warned that water levels in the Vaal River may not be enough to meet the demand in Gauteng. Does this happen every winter, though, because we don't get rain and the water levels fall? Let's find out more with Sean Phillips, Director General at the Department of Water and Sanitation. Are you scaring us, Sean Phillips? Is this scaremongering, or should we start worrying?
No, it's nothing new. We always monitor the amount of water in the integrated Vaal River system, and we've been saying for several years now that because Lesotho Highlands Phase 2 project is 9 years overdue, it was started very late, there simply isn't enough water in the integrated Vaal River system to meet all the demand of all the municipalities and the other demands on the system, considering also the fact that the demand has risen hugely with population growth in Gauteng, and that we also have a problem with leaks in the municipal distribution systems.
The dams are lower than they were this time last year. Not by a lot, but is that enough to cause concern?
We don't work on the basis of temporary short-term increases in the levels of water in the dams and decreases in the level of water of the dams.
Right.
We take a longer-term view. We do hydrological modeling of the whole integrated Vaal River system. It's about 17 dams that make up the system, including the huge Sterkfontein Dam in the Drakensberg Mountains, which is even bigger than the Vaal Dam, in which acts as a reserve. So we model the whole system, and we can move water between the different parts of the system, for example, from the Sterkfontein Dam to the Vaal Dam, if need be. And we constantly make sure that Rand Water doesn't take out more water than we allow. So we have an abstraction limit on what Rand Water can withdraw. And we calculate that limit based on calculations which are aimed at ensuring that there's always enough water in the system, even if there's a severe drought, and that there'll still be enough water in the whole system to supply the basic needs of the residents of Gauteng. So it's very important that we take a longer-term view so that we make sure that we never have a day zero situation in Gauteng.
I was going to say, how close are we to that limit?
Well, we set the limit. So Rand Water is currently abstracting water from the limit. It's abstracting all that it possibly can.
Okay.
But it would be irresponsible for us to raise that limit just because the dams are high now, at a high level now, because we don't know if there's going to be a severe drought in the near future or not.
One of the issues is that Lesotho Highlands tunnel that goes into the Ash River is going to be maintained soon. It's out for months. Is that something that's worrying?
No, because we've again done hydrological calculations, and as I indicated, we have this huge storage dam, the Sterkfontein Dam, in the Drakensberg Mountains, which is currently about 97 or 98% full. So we believe, and our calculations show, that there's enough water in the Vaal River system to make sure that Rand Water can continue to abstract water from its abstraction points on the Vaal River while this maintenance work is done. So it won't have any significant impact on residents in Gauteng.
Okay, Sean, I'm breathing a sigh of relief because of that. But the one thing you did mention is it's the issues that we have in the municipalities. It's the water that's leaking, the percentage of water that's just being lost because of poor infrastructure. What is the Department of Water and Sanitation doing about that?
Well, as you know, in terms of the Constitution, delivery of municipal water and sanitation services is a municipal function. We have municipal elections. They have their own councils. It's a separate sphere of government, and they manage themselves, and they collect revenue from the sale of water, and we encourage them strongly to use those revenues for the maintenance of their infrastructure. However, in terms of our Constitution, if the council decides to use those revenues for other purposes, we can't legally stop them from doing that. But we are regularly meeting with all the municipalities, and we are monitoring the implementation of their plans to improve the maintenance of their infrastructure. Some of them have recently had quite significant increases in their water and sanitation budgets, which we're very pleased about. Joburg Water, for example, is currently engaged in some very important projects to improve the resilience of their systems, to build more reservoirs and pumping stations, so that when there are disruptions caused by maintenance or load shedding or mechanical electrical breakdowns, it doesn't have as severe an impact as it currently does on high-lying areas, because they currently don't have sufficient reservoir storage and pumping capacity.
Sean Phillips is the Director General at the Department of Water and Sanitation. Thanks very much.
What is Ushuni, you say? Ushuni has a musical gift and can transform a song. Ushuni can fuse folk music with a popular urban beat or tune. Ushuni can take us on a beautiful musical journey. Ushuni way to Gelo. Join us in unearthing South Africa's next folk music star. 40 talented contestants from around South Africa competing for the ultimate grand prize of 500,000 Rand cash and a recording deal. Angeke basikhone with Ushuni Womhlaba, starting 7 July, Sundays at 6 p.m. only on SABC 1.
Are you a small business owner that wants to give your company a bit of a boost? Well, you're in luck. SAFm's Business Booster is back, giving local enterprises a chance to fly high. Simply enter at flysafair.co.za. Tell us about your business, and you could be one of 6 winners to receive 10 return flights and exposure across our social and digital channels. It's our way of celebrating homegrown talent that fuels our nation. SAFm, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
Channel more reasons to feel encouraged on Afternoon Express, Tuesday at 6 p.m. on S3, as Councillor Sadia Southgate shares how mental health support helps us see a brighter day. Making sense of food labels gets us eating right. Chef Dumi and Jay make a whipped feta and grilled lamb flatbread. That's Afternoon Express, this Tuesday at 6 p.m. only on S3. Repeat Sundays at 8:30 a.m.
You are listening to John Gericka on SAfm.
Before we go into our next interview, I'm seeing a thing on TV where somebody has invented what it's a helicopter, right? But it has like 10 different blades above it instead of just the one on top and the one at the back. And I was like, why? Why? No, it has more. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 3, 6, 9, 12. It's got like 18 blades on top. It's like, surely that's more expensive and more difficult to run than if you just have one blade on top, or 2 blades or 3 blades on top of a helicopter, or one engine, and it does it. It makes no sense. Sometimes you just want to do technology for the sake of technology. Let's talk about climate change for a little while. The State of Climate Action Report says the Presidential Climate Commission says that urgent action is needed. Let's talk to Yuri Rumkison, lead for monitoring and research unit at the Presidential Climate Commission. Yuri, good morning to you. Thanks very much for joining us. What action is needed and why is it urgent?
Thanks for having me. So essentially, this was an assessment of what action is already being taken. And the main findings show where the failures are in action that's impacting our response to climate change. And mainly action is required around governance issues, support for local government, trying to realign our emissions targets, and improving adaptation and resilience in the state in general, but also in specific sectors.
We're the small little country down in the south of Africa, and when we see the CO2 levels, when they show us those global maps, we've got such a small footprint. Why should we be worrying down here?
2 reasons. South Africa is in the top 15 highest emitters in the world. For a small, as you say, country, our sort of emissions per capita are quite extraordinary. So that's quite significant. Secondly, sub-Saharan Africa is going to be impacted disproportionately compared to the rest of the world. We're going to be experiencing flooding, droughts, heat waves, fires. So if we don't start adapting and mitigate, improving our mitigation targets now, or ensuring we reach our mitigation targets, it reflects badly on us, but also the impact is just quite severe.
Where are we creating? Where are we polluting the planet?
What do you mean? As in which?
What is causing global warming or climate change from South Africa? What are the big issues?
For us, it's a high level of emissions from various companies within South Africa. So it's just a disproportionately high amount of emissions for such a sort of, as you said, small country. And compared to Africa, we have the highest emitters on the continent.
Okay, so what is it? Is it burning coal? Is it cars that are driving? Is it our cows?
It's mainly coal. There is also a proportion from vehicles as well. Yeah.
Okay, so adaptation is a word that you use now. How can we...
Adaptation, yeah.
Say again?
Adaptation.
That's going to happen because it's happening. Before we talk about adaptation, can we turn things around? I did a thing the other day where we're having the hottest days ever. Is it too late to be able to turn things around and now we need to focus on adaptation?
Yeah, so I think we've probably reached a certain point where we may not be able to keep things below 1.5 degrees Celsius unless other countries really come to the party and start playing their part. There is hope that we can keep it under 2 degrees Celsius, but it's important to note that every degree or 0.1 degree above 1.5 is really significant. It doesn't just jump from 1.5 to 2.
Right.
So even keeping it to 1.6 is a significant win. Secondly, we need to do both. We need to be mitigating because even if for example, we abandon our mitigation aims and we focus solely on adaptation, our adaptation costs are going to be so much higher. So we definitely need to focus on both.
Okay, you mentioned the other countries. Like we can do anything. We can shut down all of our pollution. We can shut down everything. We have we have everybody walking around. But it's what those other countries are doing, and are they doing enough?
So at the moment, there are many countries that are doing a lot, significantly in parts of Europe. And I think negotiating with the highest emitters in the country in the world is an ongoing discussion. And our state in general has taken a really great stance on engaging with other countries and reducing their emissions. So it's a work in progress, but it's progressing.
Okay, let's talk about this adaptation that you're talking about. I'm feeling like that's going to cost money. It's going to be building better seawalls. It's going to be improving infrastructure for drainage when there's big storms, getting food from different places.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
Okay, so there's one important thing to remember. Adaptation is already built into some of our local government or provincial competencies. So much of it is not necessarily an add-on. There is already sort of environmental health targets at local government, management of emissions, environmental management, strategic planning or urban planning. Those are already competencies that we should be doing better. Secondly, there is funding coming from the private sector at the moment for climate-related projects. At the moment, it's skewed a bit more towards mitigation, and we need to lobby the private sector to try and improve funding towards adaptation and building resilience, particularly in affected sectors such as food, water, transport, and so forth. But we do need to increase lobbying and the earmarking of finance from the international community, and that's our next challenge.
We spoke about this with procurement earlier. You can have all the laws in the land and you can come up with all the suggestions and things, but if you don't enforce those laws and suggestions, what's the point? So do we have good enough enforcement of river pollution, and if somebody's caught doing that, or air pollution or noise pollution?
Yeah, so that is actually the problem, and that was actually one of the main findings of the report. We actually found that South Africa has really strong commitments and public support for tackling climate change and, approaching a just transition. But progress is not happening at the pace and scale that we require to tackle such a crisis or a crisis of such proportion. There's various barriers like incoherent policies, inconsistent actions, and so forth. So we need to work with government, and we need additional role players from various sectors to come to the table to ensure that we improve implementation, we improve coherence, or the streamlining of policies and processes and programs. We try and ensure that corruption doesn't affect the spending that is allocated to climate-related policies and so forth.
So there's not one body at the moment that's looking at this in government, or that runs all of this in government. It's up to a whole group of bodies?
Absolutely. So, climate is housed, technically by the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, but it can't just be them. Climate targets have to be mainstreamed in the performance plans of various departments: transport, mineral resources and petroleum, energy, electricity, even, the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. We're working with them to try and ensure the just transition is mainstreamed into our next medium-term development plans, or, that sort of thing. So it can't just be one department. It has to, in fact, it also has to be health, because, environmental health is such an essential part of this.
Right, lots to do. Yuri Ramkison, thank you very much. Lead for Monitoring and Research Unit at the Presidential Climate Commission. What do you make of that? What do you make? Are you changing your life, your little bit's life, to make the world a better place? I drive a hybrid, but then somebody will tell you that the amount of energy and the amount of technology and bad stuff that goes into the battery that's in my car is not necessarily helping the environment. I'm so confused. Let us know what you think. SMS, or you can tweet us at SAfm Radio. You can also call us 086 000 2032, and WhatsApp voice notes. We will take a couple. 0614 104 107. News headlines at 7:30.
Good morning. In the headlines, the Gauteng Education Department has scheduled a disciplinary hearing at the Pretoria High School for Girls for this evening and tomorrow. This follows the suspension of 12 learners allegedly linked to a controversial WhatsApp group. Gauteng's Education MEC Matome Chilwane is this morning expected to give details of a report on an investigation into the deaths of 2 learners from the Davidton Skills School. And Israeli demonstrators have broken into 2 military bases to protest against the arrest of soldiers accused of abusing a Palestinian detainee. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Just want to take you down to KZN for an important update on the N2. There's 2 protest areas this morning, one between Murchison and Port Shepstone, and another set of protesting out at Isilgolweni. The Isilgolweni protest, again, we've seen the protesters commandeer trucks and just pull them across the road. So there's effectively 2 blockages on the southern part of the N2 through KZN. Anyone plans to travel between Port Shepstone and Harding should be avoiding that travel this morning. Probably aim to get through about lunchtime, I would think, later this morning. In the meantime, you might want to think about the longer way through the Ikopo and Scotborough route, just to keep yourself moving and staying away from that trouble. Joburg this morning, N3 is quite heavy coming up into Heidelberg Road. If you're arriving up from the Phosphorus Greatview area, it's very slow. And then a lot of traffic between Elands Interchange in Germiston and Modderfontein Road in Edenvale through Galulis. And 3 queues to work through on your way between Pretoria and the airport this morning. Roadworks at Clayville, roadworks just after the Benoni exit, and then some crash delays just opposite the airport area. Driving into Durban, the N3 and M13 routes very heavy out of Pinetown. There's a broken down vehicle near the Paradise Valley interchange, so both routes are bad, particularly the M13 as you come from St John's Avenue Bridge territory. Cape Town side this morning, any travel out of Cirrus on the R43 in Michelle's Pass, not possible at this stage. Truck overturning, recovery of that underway. That pass, the R46 is currently closed. Crash on the N7 south at the N1, so watch for some delays coming through from Bosmansdam Road. And we saw a busy M5 into Cape Town yesterday, seeing it again this morning from Southfield. Delays all the way up towards the N2 highway. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
This is SAfm Sport with Zai Khan.
So Zai gives me normally like headlines about what she's going to talk about. In the first news sports bulletin, she said gold with little gold. And today and now she says gold, gold, gold. So Zai, why gold, gold, gold?
Our breakfast just got golden, okay, with you, John. I mean, yes, Tatiana Smith snagging the first Olympic gold for South Africa in the 100-meter breaststroke. What a way to start your day. Spectacular start at the Paris Olympics. Finishing at a time of 1 minute, 5.28 seconds. Tatiana Smith's incredible performance saw her come from behind to beat China's Tang Qianting and secure the top spot. Let's hear from our gold medalist, Tatiana Smith.
But yeah, I think we all have our own strategies, our own game plans, or our own ways of racing. Personally, for me, it was just to focus on my own race. So even when I catch myself wanting to look around, I just said, close your eyes. I wanted to learn from Tokyo, and that's what I wanted to do. And I was very happy with the race. I'm very grateful that I ended up touching first, but it wasn't about that. It was just, doing the best I can.
And Peter Kutsia also impressed in the pool, setting a new African record in the men's 100-meter backstroke final with a time of 52.58 seconds, although he finished fifth. Mountain biking, Alan Hatherley made history by winning bronze in the men's cross-country race, becoming the first South African cyclist to medal at the Olympics since 1956. Hatherley finished just 11 seconds behind the gold medalist Tom Pidcock of Great Britain. Unfortunately, our women's hockey team, they faced a tough 4-2 defeat against Argentina, who scored 3 late goals in the fourth quarter as they sealed a come-from-behind win. Skateboarder Brandon Valjallo finished 12th, and that's in the men's street prelims. Soccer, the Zambia striker Rachel Kundananji says they really need to work on their defensive skills after losing 6-5 to Australia in the Olympic women's football group stages. The Copper Queens were leading 4-2 at half-time, and the world's most expensive female footballer, Kundananji, who moved to Bay FC from Madrid CFF for a transfer fee of around 16 million, and that 16 million rand, believes that they can win their next game against Germany if they work on their confidence.
The game is now the past. Like, we can never go back in that game. I'm urging to my fellow players, we need to focus on the next game, which we have, and we still have another game to get 3 points, which we can get if we just work on our mistakes and have the confidence that we usually have. Because I feel like in this game, we lost confidence, and they used that against us.
In the meantime, Arsenal have signed Italy defender Riccardo Calafiori from Bologna for a fee of around 995 million rand, including add-ons. The 22-year-old, who started Italy's 3 group games at Euro 2024, has signed a 5-year deal with Mikel Arteta's side. He has immediately joined up with his new teammates in Philadelphia. That's a wrap of your sport on SAfm Breakfast. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAfm.
Ntauleng Lechela joins us now. Ntauleng, good morning to you. 2 of my favorite things, fast food and beer. What's happening with McDonald's?
Morning, John. So consumers across the globe are finding McDonald's meals too expensive. I don't know if you're finding them expensive too. Now,
I'll remain quiet because there's always space for fast food.
Okay. Now, to put things into perspective, a Big Mac in 2023, just the burger alone, would cost you $49.90, and this year the same burger costs you $51.90. Now, small difference, but this has weighed on the fast food chain's second quarter performance as the price hikes have been implemented across its markets. Now, during the period, it reported a 1% decline in same-store sales. This is the first time the company recorded company-wide same-store sales that have fallen, right? The last time this happened was in the fourth quarter of 2020. Revenue in the meantime was flat at $6.4 billion. Now, in an attempt to win back customers, McDonald's is leaning towards discounts to entice them. Fast food chains like McDonald's have been dealing with a consumer that's been under strain due to high inflation and elevated interest rates, which has resulted in consumers cutting back on fast food spend or looking for cheaper options. The outlook for McDonald's is quite grim. The group has warned of tough times ahead due to the dire state of the consumer, as well as the worldwide boycott it's been facing because of its ties with Israel.
And Heineken Cider's doing all right here, but they want to do things on beer. What's happening?
So the Dutch brewery firm says it'll be pouring more money into its emerging markets, right? And that's one of those emerging markets is South Africa. The group said it's confident it'll reach its 500 million euros target for the full year and plans to use those funds to beef up marketing and sales within those emerging markets. In the South African market, Heineken noted an upbeat performance from its cider brands like Bernini and Savannah. These are brands it picked up after the tie-up with local company Distel fell in 2021. Heineken, however, is struggling with its beer brands in the country, losing some of its market share to the likes of Corona owner AB InBev. Now, this update comes alongside its second quarter results. On a group level, there was nothing to cheer about as Heineken swung into a loss. This was largely due to a big impairment charge from its Chinese division.
What's happening on the markets this morning?
Now, starting in Asia, markets still in negative territory following mixed cues from its international peers overnight. It seems like traders are practicing some caution ahead of a big week of central banks' decisions. The Bank of Japan's meeting, a big one for that region. Now, taking all of that into account, we are seeing the Japanese Nikkei trading lower, down 0.2%, while China's Shanghai index fell 0.6%. Over in Wall Street, futures are in the red near the flat line, again just showing that traders are awaiting all the big news to come through before making any big bets on riskier assets. Sentiment pretty similar on the local front. The JSE ending yesterday's trade in the red, slipping 0.13%. We also had some weakness coming through from the currency front, with the rand losing ground, trading at 18.43 to the dollar.
Taoleng Lachela, thank you very much. More business coming up with her in an hour's time.
There's sponsoring a news feature. Then there's helping your clients make the news. Search Standard Bank Business and Commercial Banking to see how far they can take your business.
Africa Update on SAfm.
Advocate Sipho Mantula, good morning to you. Tunisia getting ready for elections in October.
Refreshing morning, John, and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Indeed, Tunis is going to decide on in October, but now they're doing the submission of presidential candidates. It is open. This exercise will last until the 6th of August. Very important that Professor President Kais Saied is expecting for the re-elections in this tussle in Tunisia. Some oppositions have been arrested. Others, they have also pulled out of this presidential nomination process in Tunisia.
And then there's fighting on the border of Mali and Algeria. What's happening?
You know, you have the Wagner mercenary group there. You have the Malian soldiers that they have admitted that over this weekend they have taken a loss of heavy fight against the Tuareg rebels, as you said, near the border of Algeria. The Malian government, you know, it has been born out of a coup in 2020, 2021. They've been fighting what they call Islamist insurgency, and they've been assisted by the Russian mercenary group called the Wagner. Now, when you look at this, they have lost even one of the commanders of the Wagner in this fight, Sergei Sevchenok, who was killed over this weekend. So Mali is still struggling to deal with many rebel groups that are within the Sahel region.
And Ethiopia Airlines, this glowing airline across the globe, everybody else is struggling. They seem to be doing all right.
They are doing well. It's like yesterday I was already telling you about their coffee. Now I'm going to their airline. They have said that in 2023-24 they've got 17.1 million passengers that they've surpassed. They are targeting now 20 million passengers starting in July now, and they've added 5 new routes. They are buying more planes. And that's how Mesfin, the CEO of Ethiopian Airlines, is very proud. And like we have said before, John, SAA could have learned 1 or 2 from Ethiopian Airlines.
You talk about revenue. Hopefully they're making money, and it's not just money that's being poured down the drain.
Not at all. When you look at Ethiopian Airlines, they've been making money for the state. It's a national asset. Right. They've made sure that it benefits them, and they are funding their great renaissance dam. They are building buildings. There are many buildings when you go to Addis. They have revamped Bole Airport also with that money.
And what's happening? What was Historical Archive today?
No, we are going to Kenya quickly, John. When you look at William Ruto say, I'm not a madman to sell Kenya's airport. This has come out of the social media saying that he wants to sell Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, but clarifying that we need public-private partnership to expand and improve the airport facilities of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. You'll understand, like I said, Ethiopia, Rwanda, they've built a brand new airport. So William Ruto is going that route as well to say they need to rebuild their national strategic asset, which is an airport.
I missed that one, sorry. What happened in the Historical Archives today?
We are looking back 77 years ago. He passed on at the age of 33. He was a teacher, a lawyer, a politician. principal architect of Pan-Africanism in South Africa, first president of the African National Congress Youth League, that is Anthony Muziwake Lembede. He passed when he was almost going for his doctoral studies at the University of South Africa. Asante Sana John S. was still leading the conversation, SAfm, observing the International Mandela Month.
Advocate Sibu Mantula, thanks very much.
There's listening to the news, then there's making the news. Grow your business into the next big thing with Standard Bank Business and Commercial Banking. When you choose Standard Bank Business and Commercial Banking, you get access to our business solar loans. Accessing our business solar loans means you get connected to the right supplier for your business and the most feasible tailor-made financing solution. And that financing solution means 8,760 hours of uninterrupted power for your business, sourced directly from the African sun. You see, there's going green. Then there's going green with us. Search Standard Bank Business and Commercial Banking. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Hi, good morning, Geriko. This water problem thing, I don't think it's really there, because at my house, a pipe burst on Friday afternoon, and I mean it's like a river there in Impala Park. I do have a reference number 1271 from Ekohuruleni since Friday, and I've been calling every day for them to come and stop this pipe burst, but there's just no urgency. You can even speak to them, to the call center there. I call 4 to 5 times per day trying to follow up. When are they coming? Nothing. No, man.
Hi, John. We welcome any mechanism or method that can assist us to eradicate this scourge of corruption, particularly in our municipalities. So, thank you very much. We're here in Kuma.
We also got other areas. When you bring up water, things go mad. 7 days water outage in Utukela District Municipality in KwaZulu-Natal under Alfred Duma Local Municipality. A number of wards in the municipality has been experiencing water outages. Morning, it seems there's also a water crisis in Durban. Nothing's being reported in the daily press. There's CAS in Durban. And so let us know if there are issues, something we can raise. We've spoken about the water infrastructure in the city of Johannesburg. Let us know about your cities as well.
Ashraf Garda on SAfm.
Regarding the prisoner that we're talking about in the first place, did you say has been taken or will be taken against?
We have, because in terms of the Correctional Services Act, it is illegal to have a mobile phone in a correctional facility. That remand detainee has been charged and has also been moved to a maximum correctional center, because clearly being in a remand facility, he doesn't see it as an appropriate center to house him. So he has been moved. Perhaps where he is now, he will then have respect for the victim of crime. And also, set of knowledge that he's in a correctional facility because he has committed crime or alleged to have committed crime, because he's still trial awaiting. He's attending to court cases.
The spokesperson for Correctional Services, that's Singabako Numalo.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m. Call us on 086 000 2032.
Ninja's in Durban. How's it, Ninja?
Oh, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm fantastic. What do you want to say?
Yeah, I want to talk about, I've coined this name, Mel Zuma. Do you like that?
Mel Zuma.
PLC.
Explain it.
Well, he's written his obituary. The point is this: the ANC is right to reprimand him because he's drawn the ANC into contempt.
They didn't reprimand him, they dismissed him.
Yeah, well, they went through this reprimand process. The thing is, he should go quietly. He's 82 years old, into his retirement home. He's got an axe to grind, and this is causing the ANC a lot of problem. They're washing their dirty laundry in a triangle. And the public don't really want to hear this. They want to hear about service delivery and, the economy and that sort of stuff. They keep bringing up this, raking up dirt, and people are just getting fed up of this politics. Now, there are so many important issues that needs to be addressed, as you put on your news, water issues, and it's just not on. You should give it a rest.
Ninja and David, thank you very much. Yeah, is that the end of the chapter, you think? Manjano's in Tswana. You want to talk about climate change, Manjano?
Yeah, man. Mornings, how are you?
Morning, Lekker, go ahead.
Good, man. It's so refreshing to hear actually a presenter like you on a station on a national station who's actually questioning the evidence. I mean, honestly speaking, this whole climate thing is just a disaster. It's been hijacked by a very leftist sentiment that the world is going to collapse and it's warming. I don't really think there's any evidence to suggest that humans are warming the earth more than what the natural progression or how the earth is been moving.
All right, Mariano, let me stop you there. There is massive amounts of evidence to prove that human beings have done this.
Give me a chance. So what I'm trying to say is that it's evidence. There's no evidence. I mean, people are telling us that we are going to destroy the earth. Let me tell you, we are in a cooling phase of the earth. The earth moves in cycles.
Manjano, listen carefully. There is massive amounts of evidence to prove that human
tell
beings...
me what is the evidence? Why don't you guys get engineers and scientists on both sides?
We just spoke to somebody who did research.
Yeah, but tell me, is it sensible for somebody to mine and blast nickel and copper and then burn up power plants, right? Burn up power plants to melt and make the stuff and then tell us, oh no, you know what? This is going to be the technology that's going to save us.
But that's
It's nonsensical. It's like you are burning more energy.
Okay, that's two different things. All right, so listen. Now, let me have a go. All right, so there is mounting evidence. When the Industrial Revolution happened, there was warming of the planet, but then when that Industrial Revolution happened, the warming of the planet increased exponentially, and it has been increasing since.
What is exponentially? Give us the numbers. Because some of us are well versed in this. It's been hijacked. Let me tell you, right? The world, humans have to survive. The best way to save the planet would be actually to create cheap energy. And then people don't have to cut wood and burn all these other things people are saying. But no, let me tell you, what's going to happen to all these wind plants and all these solar batteries when they need to get terminated and wasted?
All right, I think, yes, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, Manjano.
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying.
But what needs to happen is that you need to get people that are versed.
Yes.
Not just people who talk out of there. There are people who have studied these things, who are engineers. People can give you numbers and facts.
Manjano, we're on it.
Renewable energy and global warming is just a facade for them to create money and a cycle.
All right.
The North is telling us to sell us our best coal because that's the densest and cheapest energy, right? And then they're telling us they're going to make products and then they're going to sell it back to us. What nonsense is that, man?
Manjano, thank you very much. You wanted to talk to experts. We spoke to the Presidential Climate Commission. We spoke to the lead for monitoring and research unit. That's their job, is to do that research from all perspectives. But Manjano, it is an ongoing conversation. We will have many more climate change discussions.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
What's going on at KZN this morning? A breakdown on the M13 at Paradise Valley. If you're coming down Fields Hill, it's very heavy from a sort of about Kloof Golf Course area into Kloof, down Fields Hill, right through St John's Avenue Bridge and down towards Paradise Valley N3 joined. It is heavy going into Durban, the M4 Southern Freeway, all backed up through Umbilo Kongela this morning. The demolition of China Mall and the closure of Brook Street largely responsible for that. Protesting at Isilgulweni between between Port Shepstone and Harding. That section of the roadway currently blocked. Protesters have again commandeered trucks and pulled them across the roadway. So Port Shepstone to Harding, no way through. I believe there's some protesting on the Booker Road locally as well, just to add a little bit of extra sort of delay to your travel, because you can't go the Booker Road and you can't go N2. So it looks like Mzinto, Scopra, Ikopo would be the option at this stage. Very heavy coming from Pretoria down to the airport this morning. You've got roadworks at Clayville, roadworks after the Benoni exit towards Pomona, and then a crash opposite the airport. 3 big queues to work through there. Also, if you're driving up into Four Ways, a collision on Vickoppen near Cedar Road. So from Johannesburg North riding side, it's very heavy this morning. Cape Town's Marine Drive, bad backlogs from around about Bayside Mall in Tableview all the way down to the paddocks at Milnerton. And traffic lights are out on both Plattekloof Road in the N1 and Yipdiyaga and the N1. So there's some extra delays on those bridge systems this morning. R300 looks okay until you get up towards the M1. It gets a bit slow through there. And some pressure still on the M3 from Constantia, moving up towards the Bishop's Court Paradise Road exit. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
There will be no hiding place in the men's hockey Pool A encounter between South Africa and Germany. The African Giants and Europe's well-decorated outfit are both chasing the vital points. This is the Olympic Games Paris 2024. South Africa faces Germany on Tuesday, 30 July at 10:30 a.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and reports on SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCsport.com. SABC Sport is the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024. Hashtag the global battle of great athletes. For the love of the game.
Are you a small business owner that wants to give your company a bit of a boost? Well, you're in luck. SAFm's Business Booster is back, giving local enterprises a chance to fly high. Simply enter at flysaffair.co.za. Tell us about your business, and you could be one of 6 winners to receive 10 return flights and exposure across our social and digital channels. It's our way of celebrating homegrown talent that fuels our nation. Fly SAFair, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
Channel more reasons to feel encouraged on Afternoon Express, Tuesday at 6 p.m. on S3, as Councillor Sadia Southgate shares how mental health support helps us see a brighter day. Making sense of food labels gets us eating right. Chef Dumi and Jay make a whipped feta and grilled lamb flatbread. That's Afternoon Express, this Tuesday at 6 p.m. only on S3. Repeat Sundays at 8:30 a.m.
SAfm. Prime time all day long.
4 minutes to 8, John Gericke at SAfm Breakfast. Big numbers. 123 million rand looted from the National Skills Fund to buy farms, luxury cars, all under the watch of Professor Bladen Zimande, who was the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, now the Minister of Science and Innovation. His spokesperson is Veli Mbele, joins us now. Veli, how could this happen that 123 million rand has disappeared?
Thank you, and good morning to your listeners as well. So, just the point of departure perhaps is to state, like you correctly said, Minister Nzimande is the former Minister of Higher Education and currently Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation. And he also, wishes us to make the point that we currently have a Minister of Higher Education who's Minister Nobuhle Nkabane. And Minister Nzimande is taking the step to clarify the issues that you have realized purely because they relate to matters that were under his control, but also because they have got serious reputational implications. Right. Now, also because it is also important that we are having this discussion because there was a very devious and horribly misleading media report by one newspaper, the City Press, and we are here to clarify. So the manner in which all of this unfolded is as follows. That the first point to make is that the public got aware of the issues that you're raising primarily because of an investigation that Minister Nzimande instituted, right? And this is as a result of findings that were made by the Auditor General for the financial years 2019-2020. Minister Nzimande then, as Minister of Higher Education, then instituted a forensic investigation which then resulted in what we refer to as the Nexus report of 10 projects, right? And as a result of that, a number of recommendations were made, upon which the Department of Higher Education then and the NSF then acted under the leadership of Minister Nzimande, which included, amongst others, reporting some of the issues to the Hawks or working with the Hawks, reporting some to the police, consequence management, which means the institution of disciplinary processes, some of which are still ongoing, including some of the criminal proceedings are still ongoing. And all of these were under the leadership of Minister Nzimande. But also, this process as far back as 2022, the department and the NSF under the leadership of Minister Nzimande reported to Parliament not more than 3 times. So what you have read and what me and you are discussing is something that was already reported to Parliament as far back as 2022. So all of the detail that was splashed over the front pages of the city press, deviously so, is something that the department actually under Minister Nzimande brought to the attention of the nation through Parliament. Right?
Why?
So the point that one is making is that an impression should not be created that this was discovered now and nothing has been done, because that is the deviousness that the city press wants to communicate.
All right.
Right.
It
It's
seems
very
as if,
important.
what has been done though? If it's been reported 3 times, as you say, what's happened?
Like I said, so the forensic report made recommendations. There's a process of disciplinary hearings that was entered into, which continues, which included, amongst others, suspensions, fines of the officials who were involved, and some of the disciplinary processes are ongoing. So you have 2 categories. For instance, there were severe cases and there were less severe cases. So currently, where the process is that there's continuing investigation to deal with the more severe cases. That's on the disciplinary side, right? Then on the side of improving the performance of the organization, there is a business reform model that has been implemented as a result of Minister Nzimande's ministerial task team on the NSF, which has resulted in, amongst others, an improvement of the financial performance of the organization, especially as per the audit findings, right, for successive 2 years. So those are the processes. But at this stage, it is important that we just state that for ethical reasons that Minister Nzimande wants to give the new Minister of Higher Education the space to report on further progress and clarify the nation properly, because he is no longer the Minister of Higher Education. But we are taking the step to clarify, because Minister Nzimande has been deviously mentioned.
Yeah.
And it was important that we just clarify this, but continue to make the point that the Minister Nobuhle Nkabane, the Minister of Higher Education, is the minister who is better placed and would be giving, we believe, greater clarity on this.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on that. Veli Mbele, spokesperson for the Minister of Science and Innovation, Blade Nzimande, as you heard. It's an ongoing story. This is the story about the rabbits, where 10,000 rabbits were supposed to have been bought for 123 million rand, and it landed up that they bought 200 for 123 million rand. Ongoing story. We will catch up with that. It's 8:02.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 rand. SMS out to 30754. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, Pretoria High School for girls pupils to face disciplinary hearing and Davidton School drowning report to be released. Good morning. The Gauteng Education Department has scheduled a disciplinary hearing at the Pretoria High School for girls for this evening and tomorrow. This follows the suspension of 12 learners allegedly linked to a controversial WhatsApp group. The messages on the group allegedly contained racial comments and complaints about black learners. The department spokesperson Steve Mabona says the school governing body members will lead the proceedings.
The process belongs to the SGB because this is their children. They take the decision on any transgression of a code of conduct, because the code of conduct would have been crafted by them. They would have signed for it as parents. I mean, SGP is an extension of the entire parent body because they elected this SGP. So they take full responsibility of disciplining their children. So that's why they decided to suspend them and prepare the process, as it were, to start.
Gauteng's Education MEC Mato Mechilwane is this morning expected to give details of a report on an investigation into the deaths of two learners from the Davidton Skills School. 15-year-old Siphamandla Peterson and 17-year-old Sibusiso Sibia drowned during a discipline camp at Rockfalls Adventure Ranch in Centurion in April this year. Steve Mabona is the department's spokesperson.
Gauteng Education MEC Mato Mechilwane share the investigative report which probed the deaths of two learners from Davidton Skills School who drowned during a discipline camp at Rock Falls Adventure Ranch in Centurion on Monday, the 15th of April, 2024. The report is ready. It will be shared with all the stakeholders accordingly.
A 55-year-old man will have to serve his jail term of 10 years, 2 of which are suspended, after the High Court in Cape Town dismissed the appeal against his sentence. He was convicted of over 3,000 counts of possession of child pornography. The Western Cape National Prosecuting Authority spokesperson, Eric Ntabazalila, says the man was sentenced in the Wynberg Regional Court in 2021. Ntabazalila says the perpetrator also appealed against his name being entered into the National Register of Sex Offenders and declaring him unfit to possess a firearm. The South African Maritime Safety Authority says clean-up operations are continuing following an oil spill from the grounded Panama-flagged cargo ship MV Ultra Galaxy on the Cape West Coast. It occurred at the weekend. SAMSA spokesperson Tebogo Ramachi says severe and disruptive weather that battered the western and northern Cape coastline and over recent days caused the vessel to break into 4 sections. He says one fuel tank ruptured, causing an oil spill on the immediate beach area. Ramachi says the heavy swells and strong winds prevented any oil from drifting seawards and further down the coastline. And finally, Israeli demonstrators have broken into 2 military bases to protest against the arrest of soldiers accused of abusing a Palestinian detainee. Dozens of protesters, including far-right politicians, forced their way through the gates of the military base where military police have detained army reservists. Joseph Yosefi is one of the protesters.
When you have monsters like that who raped, killed, burned, and looted, murdered thousands of people and should have been killed on the spot at that day. And right now you're starting to interrogate soldiers in the middle of a war. That's wrong. That's the people that can't distinguish between good and evil, and that's what we are here to fix. That's our mission, that's our cause, and we won't give up.
Recapping the top story, the Gauteng Education Department has scheduled a disciplinary hearing at the Pretoria High School for Girls for this evening and tomorrow. It follows the suspension of 12 learners allegedly linked to a controversial WhatsApp group. For SAfm News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
Many insurers claim to be the best, but the proof is in the numbers. Outsurance has consistently had the best ombudsman for short-term insurance results for the past 11 years, and Outsurance clients always get something out. Outsurance pays over 1.7 million rand in out bonuses every day. Why would you want to be with anyone else? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Or visit outsurance.co.za for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
SAfm. guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Major delays coming out of Pietermaritzburg on your way to Durban this morning. A truck overturning between Armless Road and Camperdown. Looks like it's closer to Camperdown. The traffic is fairly extreme. I think all lanes are currently blocked. Traffic's back through Armless Road, back through Linfield Park, and working back to Ashburn. If you've got to go from Pietermaritzburg to Durban, do it later. I would think it'd be a good call. The M13, Fields Hill through Point, out on towards the M3 at Paradise Valley, remains heavily backed up. And a crash if you're going out of Durban this morning on the N3 at Pavilion Mall. That's causing a pushback into Spaghetti Junction. Joburg, a collision opposite the airport. The R21 coming south from Atlas Road is heavy as you line up into that scene. That collision just where you'd split off to the R24 highway. Cape Town, no major obstructions, but it's certainly another busy morning. The M3 highway from Constantia all the way through to Hospital Bend. Marine Drive still fairly solid as you backlog from Bayside through to Racecourse Road, and the N7 under pressure coming from Goodwood's for Trekker Road. Heavy queues up towards the Borsemans-Dam Road exit into Summer Greens, Montague Gardens. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
A very good morning to you in your SAfm Sports headlines. Plenty of South Africans in action today at the Olympics. Rowing, hockey, swimming, rugby and surfing. We'll bring you the details, as well as Tatiana Smith's stunning comeback, securing that gold. Around 8:30. More details.
Getting ahead of the morning with hashtag SAfm Breakfast.
8:10, John Kerrick in. Good morning to you. It's SAfm Breakfast. Coming up in a moment, UNESCO has added to its World Heritage Sites in South Africa the Union Buildings, Constitution Hill, Lilies Leaf, Sharpeville, Vaihoek, Onhlanga, a whole lot. We'll talk about that in a moment. Also in our science and innovation slot, there are social media apps, and then there are social media apps. Which ones do we love? Which ones do we hate, and why? We will talk to Media Monitoring Africa, who's been looking at that. And then we got a new feature, which we're sort of brought in after yesterday's conversation, right to respond. So remember yesterday we spoke about the shooting and killing by police in KwaZulu-Natal. We heard from our interviewee at the time about the police being corrupt and a number of issues around the police. Well, we're going to give right a response to the spokesperson of KwaZulu-Natal South African Police Service and we'll play you a little bit of the interview that we did yesterday, and then we'll get the police to respond to that. So that's all still coming up.
At Specsavers, we're committed to offering affordable and professional eye care. That's why we're offering 1,500 Rand worth of savings with our winter promotion. Get a free frame up to the value of 1,500 Rand, or use the 1,500 Rand on one of our leading lens enhancements. To qualify, simply purchase a comprehensive eye examination and prescription frame and lenses. Book online or call your nearest store today. Specsavers, for affordable eye care and a whole lot more. T's and C's apply.
Winners, finalists, fan favorites, and viral sensations from previous seasons of America's Got Talent return to the stage to compete for the All-Star title. Join Heidi Klum, Howie Mandel, and Simon Cowell as they decide who is the best of the best. The creme de la creme, the top dog, is in Chamatota. Whew. It's a festival of talent on America's Got Talent All-Stars. Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. on S3. Channel your best entertainment with America's Got Talent All-Stars. Only on S3. Open up.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Open the lines about water problems and they go mad. John in Davidson, you have water issues.
Hello?
Yes, John, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to report some of the areas where there's no water. Davidson, since Friday last week, it's 4 days now. And Tembisa, and kids are not going to school.
Because there's no water?
There's no water. How do you flush toilets?
Yeah. And
because kids, they'll go to toilets from time to time.
And what are the municipality doing about supplying water tankers or backup?
No, they do, but the queues are really, even embarrassing, to be honest. They go as far as springs to look for water in the suburbs, in the, plots there, around there, and some of them, they don't allow them to. It's a mess.
And it's been 4 days now. Is there light at the end of the tunnel? Are they telling you when things will be repaired?
No, yesterday they said it's probably today to tomorrow on Wednesday. they might have water. But the reporting and the information, it's far apart. Yeah.
All right, John, with big issues in Davidson and that sort of area, let us know if you have issues as well. Magdalene is in Bloemfontein. How's it?
Morning, John. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for asking.
Oh, long time not talking to you. Let me just welcome you back.
Thank you. What's happening?
Hey, John, let's talk. This is South African. Zuma. Let's talk Zuma.
Okay.
You know, I'm so happy that ANC saw the point of removing Zuma from ANC. And I wish that he may appeal but not be accepted. Why? He caused a lot of factions within ANC and within the parliament. The point is that we need to get rid of certain potatoes which don't belong to the government of South Africa. Point is, once the two bulls are fighting, the grass is suffering. The thing is that we, the South Africans, suffered because there were no developments within the government and within the government, even in the parliament, because of the factions. So I'm so happy that he has got to leave the government of South Africa, even the parliament of South Africa, so that we see developments and grow economically, and South Africans should be actively involved in the economy of South Africa. Please, and let's get rid of the red tapes. He's one of the red tapes.
Magdalene in Bloemfontein, happy that Jacob Zuma is no longer in the ANC. What are your views? Give us a call, 086 000 2032.
SAfm Breakfast, helping you navigate your day.
All right, let's go on to UNESCO. They've added World Heritage Sites in South Africa, a host of them, including the Union Buildings, Constitution Hill, but also a couple centered around Nelson Mandela, University of Fort Hare, where Nelson Mandela studied, or Hlange in KwaZulu-Natal, where he cast his vote back in 1994. The CEO of the National Heritage Council of South Africa is Advocate Sonwabile Montatwa, who joins us now. Advocate, thank you very much. What does it mean for South Africa to have more World Heritage Sites?
Hear you, John. I'm the former CEO of the National Heritage Council.
Right.
But if you read my CV, I did mention the fact that I was responsible for initiating and driving this process from 2013, and from conceptualizing the national liberation route, and which had an element of enlistment of the liberation route into a World Heritage Site, which has been passed now by UNESCO on this that is on its 46th session of the World Heritage Committee.
So it's a whole route from Ohlange, Vaihoek, University where Nelson Mandela studied, Walter Sisulu Square, Sharpeville, Lilies Leaf, Constitution Hill, the Union Buildings. It's this journey that Nelson Mandela made.
Yes, it is a journey that Nelson Mandela made, and which is themed under human rights, liberation, and reconciliation. Nelson Mandela sites. Just to take you back on the road that we traversed. In 2013, we conceptualized in fact, we had a meeting in Addis Ababa with the former DG of Arts and Culture for something else in the African Union. Now, on the sidelines of the African Union, we met a gentleman called Dr. Lazar, who is now the director of the World Heritage Committee. During that time, of course, he was one of the officials of the World Heritage Committee. He happened to have stayed in East London, this gentleman from Lagos. So that during that time, UNESCO had passed in its General Assembly a resolution, and that resolution was themed Rose to Freedom in Africa. Now, I had a discussion with him, and he said that, look, it will be good, knowing South Africa in its rich heritage. For this gentleman, they stayed in East London. He knew the Steve Biko, legacy, Sobukwe, Mandela, and so forth. And he said that you need this, you take advantage of this. Coming back and informed of that, then I crafted this concept, and then had a meeting, of course, with the board, and then from there, we seek the endorsement of the then Minister of Arts and Culture, Minister Paul Jordan, who supported the idea. Then from then we moved on. We developed what is called Liberation and Heritage Route concept document, which was a durable testament of our roots to freedom. And then having done that, within that broader liberation route framework, there was a component of enlistment of the liberation routes into a World Heritage Site. Then we started engaging multilateral bodies, including the Africa Group based in Paris, and we then worked all over the world, seeking support for this, and then we had then identified sites, and then key sites that are linked to Nelson Mandela, because we had this idea that Nelson Mandela personified the liberation of South Africa, and therefore his name was an embodiment of the liberation of South Africa.
Will these locations be looked after? We've heard issues about funding at Lily's Leaf, for example. Does this mean now that Lily's Leaf will be looked after and it will remain in its former glory?
I think if having a World Heritage Site is an advantage on its own. You can see. I'm involved in the enlistment of different sites in the World Heritage Committee. If you can just, like for instance, the cradle of mankind. The cradle of mankind in itself repositions South Africa as a cradle, as of life.
Yes.
And now we also enlisted, for instance, Makonja in Mpumalanga, which depicts the early life through geological traces, Mapungwe, And now people forget about the role of heritage, that the role of heritage is, that's why we talk about socio-economic development, social cohesion, knowledge production. For instance, if you encounter on its own, it's actually, it talks about, contribution of South Africa to paleontology, which is a field on its own, which is a massive knowledge. But when it comes to economic benefits, obviously, when we enlisted, for instance, these sites, we ensure that communities around the sites, were actually aware about what was actually happening,
very important.
So that there could be myriad of business activities. And now, through intergovernmental cooperation, these sites will be exposed. Throughout the world, you have seen Marcus Garvey sites and so forth contributes to cultural tourism, and much of that jobs actually created. But what is important is that those actually, structures should be established. The beauty about this nation, even when we put it on the tentative listing of UNESCO in 2013, we ensured that those communities were ready and they were aware, and then committees were established. Around 14 sites that were actually, identified. And this site, John, is actually a very special typology in UNESCO. It's not only about South Africa. It has got transnational implications. Nelson Mandela would have trained, for instance, received his training in Algeria and in Addis Ababa. So it's actually it's about reconstruction and decolonization of African memory and heritage, and also contribution of South Africa to the memory of the world.
Advocate, unfortunately, we need to leave it there. But congratulations to you and your team that have worked very hard to get all of that. The founding CEO of the National Heritage Council of South Africa, that's Advocate Sonwabile Manqotwa. If you want to find out or go visit them, here they are, the Union Buildings, Constitution Hill, Lily's Leaf, Sharpeville, comprising 3 component parts. Also Walter Sisulu Square, Streets of Orlando West, University of Fort Hare in the ZK Matthews House, Vaihook and Ohlange as well. Then there's also it's one of these Pleistocene occupation sites. Also, Diepkloof Rock Shelter in Elands Bay, Pinnacle Point Side Complex in Mossel Bay, and the Sibudu Cave in Kwadukuza in KwaZulu-Natal. 2 serial properties will bring South Africa's number of World Heritage Sites to 12.
It's going to be a hot women's hockey battle between South Africa and Great Britain in Pool B. Mzansi Africa's plans are to fight hard from the first whistle to the end. But their opponents, GBR, believe they will deliver a touch of great class. This is the Olympic Games Paris 2024. South Africa tackles Great Britain on Wednesday, 31 July at 10:30 a.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and report on SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. SABC Sport is the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024. Hashtag the global battle of great athletes. For the love of the game.
And we will buy 500 cars and we will buy 500 more. Just to be the one who buys your car, will come to you and offer more. We buy cars, we buy cars. Da-da-dun-da-da-dun-da-da-dun-da-da-da-da. We buy cars, we buy cars. Da-da-dun-da-da-dun-da-da-dun-da-da-da-da.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
Nothing beats the feeling of relaxing on your couch after a long, hard day, getting rid of those work clothes and feeling the freedom of being in your PJs. Throwing off that lace front, undoing your hair, that makeup, voila, gone. It's going to be a quiet, relaxed night. Well, not on S3. Bring a whole lot of vroom to your weeknights with Top Gear Season 16. Monday to Wednesday at 10 p.m. and Top Gear specials such as Top Gear from A to Z and Top Gear The Races. Friday nights from 9 to 11 p.m. Channel your inner vroom with BBC Primetime. Only on S3. Open up.
The Science of Life on SAfm.
Social media. Oh, yeah. Social media. Which ones do we love and which ones do we hate? Let's find out a little bit more with Media Monitoring Africa that's been keeping an eye on what we use and don't use. Nomshado Lubisi Nkosinkulu is a communications manager at Media Monitoring Africa. Nomshado, good morning to you. I was just checking. See, I can't say X. I was just checking X now as I was preparing for this. Which ones do we love and which ones do we hate?
I mean, this has been interesting, I think, over the years, particularly with the introduction of TikTok. Facebook has always been number one, but at one point it did end up going second. So it's interesting that, Facebook is still the most loved social media app in South Africa. And I mean, it's no shock, the diversity and versatility that it brings in terms of wide range of content options. I mean, from photos, status updates, instant messaging. I think it has become a hub of all the different features that other social media platforms offer.
When you say loved, is it most used or loved? There's two different things there, right?
So this is most used.
Okay.
And this is based on data from MailSuit, but also other data from Meltwater over the years as well. So it's looking at ratings, it's looking at usage, it's looking at downloads, and basically that's the type of data that the research compiled the data on.
It's interesting. As you say, I know that at one point they wanted Facebook to be almost like a desktop. It's got everything. It's got your news, it's got your birthdays, it's got your things you're going to do at the weekend. It's almost a one-place stop for a lot of things, which makes sense.
I mean, it really is. I'm looking at the mere fact that it can be of personal or business use, which is, I think, a functional way of having an online business brand at the same time. The fact that it also has, advertising dominance. I mean, it commands the largest share of social media advertising budgets. So it clearly has located itself as a central role when it comes to marketing efforts online.
Which one do we dislike, Nomshado?
This one is an interesting one, and I don't think a lot of people have paid attention to this platform. So Reddit, which originally obviously was an online platform and then got turned into an app, And I think after a number of, user complaints around the previous version's slowness and lack of, intuitiveness, they kind of went back and kind of redid it in a way that could perhaps improve its popularity. However, I think it's still an app that is trying to find its niche, particularly within the African continent, because its relevance is kind of not known. I mean, it is supposed to be an app where communities are built based on different likes and interests. But because it offers such, whether it's a navigation, whether it's a community hub, whether it's where I get to vote on different content that's uploaded, that's where the confusion comes about.
Oh, I've tried Reddit. I've tried and failed 3 times. It's just like, it's too much hard work. And my issue with Reddit is just the amount of anonymous people, which just leaves abuse wide open. Globally, I see TikTok is the most loved across the globe. Where does TikTok feature in South Africa then?
I mean, so in South Africa, TikTok has always been part of the top 3. Particularly, I think it has been in competition with Instagram, ranging from the 2nd or 3rd most popular app. And this is no shock. I mean, the fact that TikTok attracts significantly a younger demographic. I mean, if we're looking at the content as a whole, 1/3 of its users is aged from 15 to 24, being highly active. And the mere fact that it's a platform that has really localized its content, looking at African influencers and creators playing a very vital role when it comes to, shaping that cultural landscape, whether it's from, food, dance, music, comedy, even politics has now featured quite dominantly in TikTok as well. And it's so inclusive. I think everyone can agree that you'll find all ages on the platform, and the algorithms keeps you on that app for the most longest of time.
Even I'm on TikTok. I have 3 TikToks, I think, that I've posted. So there we go. You see, they do go right. But then I'm on Facebook a lot. Somebody messaged me on Facebook. There's so much we could talk about privacy and security and influence of social media. But what are you saying? At the moment, Facebook number 1, Reddit we dislike, TikTok and Instagram is there or thereabouts.
Definitely. So these are the top 3. I mean, WhatsApp has also been one of the interesting ones.
Oh, does that count?
Definitely. Okay. I mean, it has, when it comes to the top 4. So interestingly enough, the features that have been introduced on WhatsApp have really kind of almost made it seem as if it's moving from a direct messaging tool and kind of blurring or blending into the realm of being a social media platform. I mean, the mere fact that I can share my story from WhatsApp to Facebook, and the mere fact that, there's now the same AI searching, tool on the platform as it is on the other platforms that fall under Meta. It's really interesting as to what they're trying to do with the platform in the future. But it's still a popular platform when it comes to direct messaging, particularly in South Africa. And I want to highlight one tool, one platform as well, which was quite interesting. Threads. I think you all remember when Threads was introduced.
Not a thing.
We're all like, oh, this is the competition for X, previously known as Twitter. And we were all like, okay, what is this thing, right? What is this platform? It's not necessarily part of our liked, most loved platforms. But interestingly enough, when it comes to Morocco, it is the most loved platform in their region.
All right, time to go have a look at Threads again. Nomshado Lubisi and Nkosinkulu, thank you very much. Communications Manager, Media Monitoring Africa. Which one do you like the most? Let us know. 086 000 2032. It's just gone 8:30.
Good morning. In the headlines, the DA's deputy spokesperson on higher education, Desiree van der Walt, has called on President Cyril Ramaphosa to urgently address the issue of embezzled funds from the National Skills Fund. This after Nexus Forensic Services revealed that 123 million rand was misappropriated from the NSF to buy luxury cars and a farm. The Gauteng Education Department has scheduled a disciplinary year hearing at the Pretoria High School for Girls for this evening and tomorrow. It follows the suspension of 12 learners allegedly linked to a controversial WhatsApp group. And Israel has denied human rights groups allegations that suspected Hamas fighters suffered abuse in detention. Meanwhile, demonstrators have broken into 2 military bases to protest against the arrest of soldiers accused of abusing a Palestinian detainee. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAfm. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A couple of crash scenes in Midrand area, bottom of Midrand on the N1. There's one going north at Allendale's, backlog of traffic through Buccleuch up towards that scene. And there's one on the opposite side at Buccleuch. So coming from Allendale Road, there's extra pressure on that run through. Collision on the R21 south opposite the airport. It's quite heavy from Atlas Road as you line up to get through that one. And just south of the N1 highway in the Bryanston area, crash on the Grosvenor Road at Bryanston Drive, backlogging traffic quite badly in that area. Over into KZN, it's been a really busy morning. The M2 remains blocked at Ismagulweni, officially closed now, that section of roadway. Protesters have been using trucks, commandeering them and pulling them across the M2, preventing the flow of traffic for anybody else. So heading through to Port Shepstone, you'll be diverting around. That might be a good idea to travel later today. And if you're coming out of Pietermaritzburg, you'll need a ton of time to get through to Durban, otherwise travel later. The N3 is closed effectively from Umlas Road down to Camperdown. A truck overturning across the Durban-bound carriageway. A really big backlog of standstill traffic on that N3 east from the Ashburton area. Cape Town this morning, crash on Lower Church Street as you turn off the highway down into Woodstock, and that's causing quite a delay on the N1 coming through from sort of N1 City, Goodwood Para area down towards that Woodstock exit. It's fairly heavily congested. Behind that, Marine Drive is backed up from sort of Lagoon Beach territory. Heavy coming out of Milnerton on Marine Drive through Pardon Island just because of the significant delays on the N1 inbound towards Woodstock. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
This is SAfm Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, what can we look forward to at the Olympic Games today?
It's a jam-packed Tuesday for Team South Africa. Starting off at 10 a.m, Paige Badenhorst will be competing in the women's single sculls. That's the rowing quarterfinals. And at 10:30 in the morning, our men's hockey team will face Germany, and that's going to be an exciting one. 11 a.m, Matthew Sates will hit the pool for the men's 200-meter butterfly heats. Later in the afternoon, at around 3:11, Vincent Legoni will showcase his skills in the BMX freestyle event. And then at 4:30 in the afternoon, our women's rugby sevens team will take on Fiji, and that's an 11th, 12th place playoff. And finally, capping off the day, Sarah Ann Baum will be riding the waves in the women's surfing playoffs, and that will be around 9:25. Time to cheer our athletes as they strive to add to South Africa's medal tally. Stay tuned for updates throughout the day here on SAfm as well as SABC Sport. Now, let's recap. Tatiana Smith capturing our first gold medal in a thrilling women's 100-meter breaststroke final, finishing in 1 minute 5.28 seconds. What an incredible performance that saw her come from behind to beat China's Tang Qianting and secure the top spot. Let's hear from Tatiana Smith.
But yeah, I think we all have our own strategies, our own game plans, or our own ways of racing. Personally, for me, it was just to focus on my own race. So even when I catch myself wanting to look around, I just said, close your eyes. I wanted to learn from Tokyo, and that's what I wanted to do. And I was very happy with the race. I'm very grateful that I ended up touching first, but it wasn't about that. It was just, doing the best I can.
And yesterday, our women's hockey team faced a tough 4-2 defeat against Argentina, who scored 3 late goals in the fourth quarter. But South Africa's coaching team member Erin Christie is still proud of the South African women's hockey team.
We're disappointed not to have gotten a result. I think we fought hard for that 1 point, and there was 1 goal difference between the two sides. But I think as a start of our Olympic campaign, I think we wanted to make a mark on this game, and we wanted to prove that we are here to compete. And I think we did do that. For us, it's all about building, and so the next game we will focus on the little areas that we need to focus on, and we will keep going. I'm very, very proud of my team and very proud of the level of hockey that we put out today.
And finally, motorsport. Ferrari's driver Carlos Sainz is to join Williams next season, and what the team calls a multi-year contract. The 29-year-old Spaniard lost his seat at Ferrari after the team decided to sign Lewis Hamilton, who arrives next year. That's a wrap of your sport. More around 12:30 with John Henneke.
The Business Update on SAfm.
Ntaoleng Lechela joins us again for the last time this morning. Let's start with Total Energies. They've changed their gas exploration in South Africa. What does that mean?
That's right. So the French energy company Total Energies has decided to walk away from gas projects in South Africa as it looks to explore projects in other African countries. It said that the move comes as Total Energies faced a number of regulatory hurdles in South Africa. The group said that discoveries on the south coast could not be converted into commercial development due to the difficulties encountered in developing and upgrading these gas discoveries on the local market. So far, Total Energies has invested $400 million in the project, and the decision to pull out comes after its partner, CNRI, left the project earlier this month. Total Energies also owns 40% of another project in the same area and is withdrawing from that one too. The other companies involved in the second project are Shell and Petro SA. Industry experts in the meantime say this exit is a blow to South Africa's exploration efforts. The remaining owner of the discovery, Africa Energy, says the move will delay the project, and it also said that it's looking for other companies to partner up with on the current project.
And then, you come with good news and bad news. Today's bad news. My slab chips on a Friday are going to cost more money, I feel.
Definitely no. Well, earlier this month, we had cold weather conditions across the country, and crops in Limpopo were hit hard, particularly potatoes, which were affected by black frost. About a quarter of potato plantings in the province were affected. Now, according to an organization that monitors the industries, Potatoes South Africa, Limpopo plants 12,000 hectares of potatoes, and about 2,800 hectares of those plantings have been affected by the black frost. This is likely going to result in a shortage of potatoes in the next few months, which would then spell out higher prices for consumers. So don't be surprised when you pay a little extra for your bag of potatoes or that box of slab chips, John. The good news though, is that the shortage is only expected to last for 2 months. Experts say volumes will pick up after September, so hopefully prices will stabilize.
You see, it's like a little diet window. Go have the sweet potatoes. Yes. See, just a little diet window, 2 months. Okay, what's happening on the markets today? What's coming up?
So the JSE looks set to get a negative handover from Asian markets this morning. Traders taking a wait-and-see approach when it comes to equity markets. Local traders are awaiting PMI data out on Thursday for further clues on how the manufacturing sector has been faring. Ahead of this print, the local unit has been losing ground, trading slightly weaker at 18.44 against the dollar. Over in Asia, as mentioned, those stocks trading mostly lower. Chinese markets in particular continue to lag its peers, with local benchmarks hitting 6-month lows as concerns over a slowing economic recovery showed few signs of easing. In Wall Street, futures are in the red, with sentiment on edge before an interest rate decision from the Fed tomorrow.
Ntaoleng Lechela, thank you very much. Our business reporter. More from her again tomorrow morning from 6 o'clock.
Channel more reasons to feel encouraged on Afternoon Express, Tuesday at 6 p.m. on S3, as Councillor Sadia Southgate shares how mental health support helps us see a brighter day. Making sense of food labels gets us eating right. Chef Dumi and Jay make a whipped feta and grilled lamb flatbread. That's Afternoon Express, this Tuesday at 6 p.m. only on S3. Repeat Sundays at 8:30 a.m.
And we would buy 500 cars, and we would buy 500 more. So sell your car for the best price, and we won't think about it twice. We buy cars, we buy cars. Da-da-dun-da-da-dun-da-da-dun-da-da-da. We buy cars, we buy cars. Da-da-dun-da-da-dun-da-da-dun-da-da-da.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
From 1952 in Helsinki to 1996 in Atlanta, Penny Haynes makes history 44 years later. The sensational swimmer ended the long wait with victory in the women's 100-meter breaststroke.
Haynes tried to hold Beard off again. She did it in the 100. Can she do it in the 200?
Champions always want more, especially at the Olympic Games. Haynes was not content with just one gold. She scooped the second in the women's 200-meter breaststroke in a brand new Olympic record.
Haynes will win gold for the second time in Olympic record time.
Magical moments of the Olympic Games. Brought to you by SABC Sport, proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024. For the love of the game.
You are listening to John Gericka on SAfm.
New feature coming up in a second. Just before we go to that, we've been talking about water and climate change and pollution and a whole lot of things over the last couple of hours or so. I see the men's Olympic triathlon events being postponed due to the Seine to have pollution levels that are too high for athletes to safely swim in. Remember, the mayor of Paris went for a swim, what was it, late last week, midweek last week. But for health reasons, they have rescheduled the triathlon event where they were going to swim in the Seine. It's because of the heavy rain. So heavy rains have washed, I guess, effluent and pollution into the Seine, which is now affecting the health solution or the health issues. Officially, quote unquote, reschedule the event for health reasons. This was done bright and early this morning, so the triathlon has been postponed. So it all comes together nicely. Let's talk about a new feature we're going to do. Every now and again, we do an interview here, and then it's kind of finished. And then somebody will say, well, let's give somebody else a chance to react to that situation. So yesterday, we spoke to Mary de Haas, violence monitor in KwaZulu-Natal. She had some strong words to say about the police in KwaZulu-Natal. Let's play what she played, or I'm going to play you what she said yesterday, and then we'll get a response from the police.
I've been researching and monitoring policing for over 30 years together with the violence, and I stand for good policing. And I want to say this loudly and clearly, because I'm also going to point out there's a lot of rogue police who just shoot and kill people dead. And I know that from the forensic evidence I've seen. I mean, some of the more recent shootings, for example, I know that one man who's been involved in more than one of those incidents, in one case, the evidence showed that the suspects could not have been firing at the police. So I want to point that out very clearly. That's the first thing. The other thing is that, and I know of cases in which suspects are killed, they were in cash and transit because they are witnesses, or they can give information, like, for example, the information that it was members of crime intelligence who supplied the money for the guns that killed Sindisa Makaka. Okay, so people get taken out for all sorts of reasons by members of the police, sometimes because another thing is that the police in South Africa some of them have been dealing in drugs since the apartheid days. So, and people still tell me in, for example, townships, well, my neighbour had a visit from the police, they're giving kickbacks to the police because they're dealing in drugs. So it's very easy to kill people that might blow the whistle on corrupt policing, which is not to say that sometimes the police have to shoot back. But the other thing is this province is awash with weapons. And I've been shouting about it for years. I mean, we had 6 truckloads of weapons from Vlakplaas just before the elections in 94. Most of those weapons have never, ever been accounted for. So we have this problem, but it starts with policing, and we have to do something about policing.
So that was a conversation I was having with Mary de Haas yesterday about violence committed on the police, and then it's tended towards the police creating the crime. Let's find out a little bit more, get reaction from Colonel Robert Nechihunda, spokesperson of KwaZulu-Natal SAPS. Colonel, thank you very much for joining us. Are there rogue police in KwaZulu-Natal?
We would like to know them if they are there. And maybe your guest yesterday could have some names that can assist us to point out who they are, and we will deal with them. Yes, we do have police officers who step on the wrong side of the law, and we deal with them. From April up to now, we have dismissed 25 police officers who were found to have been in the wrong. So if there are any rogue elements, like she insinuated, we would like her to provide those names, and we will deal with them as soon as possible.
She did mention that there were issues with IPID, that she can report to IPID and then nothing happens.
You cannot say nothing happens when IPID is investigating police on a daily basis. Whenever there is an incident which involves the police, IPID is there to investigate and they provide their reports. To say that IPID are doing nothing, maybe IPID would be better placed to answer for themselves. But from what we see as the police, IPID are doing what they're supposed to be doing, because in every scene that the police are involved, whether a shootout or something else, that scene does not get to be processed until IPD are there to do what they're supposed to do, to see who is in the wrong and ensure that the law is followed to the T. So to say they are not doing anything, I think that's a very big and wrong statement.
You say the police, the ones that have been dismissed, are they prosecuted for crimes as well, or are they just dismissed? Does the police follow on the process?
When you are found to be in the wrong as a police officer, there are two processes: internal disciplinary process and the criminal process. In the police, we ensure that internally, if you have violated some regulations, you are dealt with accordingly. Whether it's misconduct, then you are found to be guilty, and the verdict is that must be dismissed, then you are dismissed. Even if you are dismissed, your case criminally will still proceed, and the law will take its course, because nobody is above the law.
Are police heavy-handed in KwaZulu-Natal? We're seeing more of these shooting and killing incidents in that province.
It is quite interesting that Meridi House will say that police are heavy-handed or police are shooting at will. And to say that we have taken a stance to just to kill. But she fails to mention that on Sunday, this past Sunday, there was a police officer who was shot in a shootout with criminals who had just robbed a store of jewelry. Luckily, he survived. He's lying in hospital. He was shot by criminals, not by police. And he didn't shoot first. This September, first week of September, SAPS is going to commemorate the lives of police officers who were taken abruptly by criminals in the line of duty. Nobody goes out to kill anybody. Nobody wants to die when they're doing their job. Police in this province are not heavy-handed. When you go to arrest somebody and that person resists arrest and shoots at you, you are left with one option: to defend yourself, preserve your life and the lives of those who are around you. This province, from the 1st of April up to now, we have arrested over 37,000 suspects. I said arrested, not shot at. and we have recovered over 1,000 firearms in the same process. So for me to say we are heavy-handed, anytime a police officer goes out to arrest, he knows that this might be my last time. Well, that's what we've signed for. But we get up every day, every night to go and ensure that those in the wrong are arrested. And if they shoot at the police, I tell you now, that police will shoot back.
Is every shooting by the police investigated?
Every shooting is investigated. That's why there is IPID, who overlooks the works of the police, so that police do not do as they please. No police officer enjoys to be in a shootout. Nobody wants to hear the sounds of gunshots, sounds of a rifle. If you go to a police officer now who has been involved in a shootout, will tell you that I've got nightmares. That's why we take them through psychological processes to ensure that they are mentally stable to take their next assignment when they're ready to do so. Nobody wants to be writing statements on why did you shoot, what happened. Nobody wants to have their weapons taken for ballistics. And you say you enjoy those things. No police officer enjoys writing statements. They want to do their job, go home, and be with their families.
Colonel Robert Nichuhunda, thank you very much. Spokesperson for KwaZulu-Natal, South African Police Service.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still very slow out by the airport in Joburg. Collision scene this morning, quite a big one on the link to the R24. So it's the R21 passing the airport onto the R24. It's quite a heavy backlog passing the airport. There's also some delays heading into the airport on the R24 from Barbara Road. So just be aware of that. If you're on your way through Midrand, a crash by Allendale causing a backlog of traffic. And coming south, there's plenty of delay. A crash at Buccleuch and then delays all the way down to about Marlborough Drive. If you're on your way to Sandton on the Mike 1 North, there's a backlog there from Corlett up towards Greyston. One of the big delays that we have this morning is the run out of Pietermaritzburg to Durban. A truck overturning between Umlas Road and Camperdown. The N3 is closed. There's nothing getting through south of Umlas Road. So Linfield Park's where everyone's going to be taken off. I'm not sure what they're doing with the trucks, whether they're allowing them onto the alternative or just stacking them up. But either way, there's a massive backlog of traffic from Ashburton down to Linfield Park and Umlas Road, where the road is effectively closed. So travel later or give yourself plenty of time to get through. Cape Town, the crash on Lower Church Street in the Woodstock area this morning just sort of had a big impact on the N1. The N1 coming through from sort of N1 city territory through that Woodstock exit and all the way to the elevated freeway is very heavy. Behind that, Marine Drive is quite bad from Milnerton's Lagoon Beach area all the way to the N1 and the Coburg Road as well through Brooklyn on towards the N1 highway stays busy. A crash on the N2 into town just past the N7 Jakes Kerville exit up towards Bunga Avenue, so some additional delays there as well. And a breakdown at Hospital Bend just causing some delays further in. And just a reminder, the Isilgolweni section of the N2 between Port Shepstone and Harding, bottom end of KZN, is currently obstructed by protesting. There's no direct way through there. It'll be the long way round or travel later today. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, noma uphumaphi, and no matter your favorite dish. See if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3, Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
Are you a small business owner that wants to give your company a bit of a boost? Well, you're in luck. FlySafair's Business Booster is back, giving local enterprises a chance to fly high. Simply enter at flysafair.co.za. Tell us about your business, and you could be one of 6 winners to receive 10 return flights and exposure across our social and digital channels. It's our way of celebrating homegrown talent that fuels our nation. FlySafair, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
There will be no hiding place in the men's hockey Pool A encounter between South Africa and Germany. The African Giants and Europe's well-decorated outfit are both chasing the vital points. This is the Olympic Games Paris 2024. South Africa faces Germany on Tuesday, 30 July at 10:30 a.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and reports on SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCsport.com. SABC Sport is the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024. Hashtag the global battle of great athletes. For the love of the game.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Got a few minutes before the news at 9. Mlu is in KwaZulu-Natal. Hello, Mlu.
Hi, how are you?
Lekker, go ahead.
I'm fine. Now, merit is trying by all means to remain relevant. Technically, Merit House is no longer relevant.
Tell me why.
Yeah, because Mary was good when he was reporting about violence during the 90s. We appreciated that. Yeah. But in this time, the whole thing now has changed. You know, the criminals are well armed. As the spokesperson has mentioned, that this province is awash with guns. You know, so when Mary keeps on pointing the issue at the police, and yet he's silent when these policemen and women are being killed by criminals, he's no longer in the show when the police are being killed. So for her to keep on pointing finger at the police, I don't think this is fair, you know. So for her, it's just to close the shop because it doesn't represent any constituency. It's just by herself. Whether it's an NGO, by herself and the phone and the sex or whatever, it's there. But the media keep on harping on her and make her remain relevant. For me, Merit House is no longer relevant. The IPID must be able to account as to what is happening, not Merit House.
Mlu in KwaZulu-Natal, thank you very much. Khojane, you want to talk about something we spoke about bright and early this morning?
How are you, sir?
Okay. U.S. elections.
Yes. You know, perhaps you can explain to me. There's something which I really don't understand. since Donald Trump said it while he is, campaigning for the election. That is almost 98 days away. Perhaps you or your listeners can make me understand. In one of these statements, Donald Trump said to Christians, they must vote for him and all their problems will be solved. They will never have to they will never have to vote again.
Correct.
To me, I fail to understand that statement, and I have been trying to think, does it mean that if the Christians can vote, all their problems will be solved? I think it's one of these misleading connotations or misleading statements, just like what happened in one of the African countries. Is it Kenya, where a lot of people died because of being misled through the so-called Christians, quotations and things like that. What does it really mean when these guys say, vote for me,
and you'll never have to vote again? See, the media have jumped on that to say that that's the dictator want of Donald Trump, saying that if you vote for me, that's the end of democracy almost. You could infer that quite easily.
So, but what does it mean? I mean, even the Christians in South Africa or around the world, are they really happy because of that statement?
All right, we will find out. Khojane, what is it? What do you make of that statement by Donald Trump? And finally, is it Zay in KwaZulu-Natal? You want to talk about Zuma? You've got a minute and a half.
Hey, minute and a half. How are you, sir?
Lekker, go ahead.
I'm good. I just, I just want to talk about Zuma, but before I do that, I would like to say I support Donald Trump as well. He's doing so well. He's representing the poor people. He's concerned about crime.
In what way is he representing the poor?
For me, there's so much because of
Name one.
Time.
Give me one.
Yeah.
Give me one. Give me one way that he's representing the poor.
There are so many things.
No, give me one. If there's so many.
He's creating policies that will create jobs.
Okay.
For Americans. Yes.
Okay.
But
Zuma, quickly.
I didn't want to go that. Yeah, I'm on Zuma then. You talk about crime as well. Crime is serious in South Africa. Was hijacked last year. But Zuma, I support Zuma regarding what he did. When you remember statistics of HIV and AIDS, people were dying seriously from the 2000 to, especially from early 2000 to 2010. But because of Jacob Zuma, because he released the ARVs, you know what he did? He did a good job in releasing those ARVs.
Right.
Because South Africans have been dying of HIV and AIDS, of AIDS.
Okay.
You know that globally, KwaZulu-Natal specifically was high in HIV and AIDS, not any other country. So he's doing a good job. He's representing the poor people, but removing him from the ANC. ANC, you must understand that it was a party to represent the poor people and the oppressed people. Yeah, it is incorrect that the current president of the ANC, which is our current president of the country, is uniting the ANC. I think he's dividing. This is my opinion. I think he's dividing the ANC. I think he's not representing the poor people at all. That is my opinion about
And thank you very much for your opinion as well. We'll take more calls throughout the morning here on SAfm Talk Radio. That's why we're there. Kathy's going to take all your calls after the news at 9 o'clock. I'll see you soon.
In our top stories, Ramaphosa urged to address looting of funds from the National Skills Fund and progress on rebuilding damaged Jagersfontein houses. Good morning. The DA's deputy spokesperson on higher education, Desiree van der Walt, has called on President Cyril Ramaphosa to urgently address the issue of embezzled funds from the National Skills Fund. This follows a report by Nexus Forensic Services that 123 million rand was misappropriated from the fund to buy luxury cars and a farm. The fund was earmarked for a project to buy rabbits, train communities in rabbit